Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to a very special Halloween episode of Not So Subtle. You gave it your all. You tried. I'm joined today by Jordan Miller.
Hi.
And Coulter Potter.
Hey.
And I'm Dan LaPointe.
Well, that didn't show my voice at all. Hey, it's Coulter here. Hi.
Everyone will be like, wait, where'd that gruff guy go?
Where'd that demon in the podcast go?
Guys, it's the day after Halloween, but we're recording a Halloween episode anyway.
It's true.
Because the government can't control us.
Time is meaningless to us.
Time is a human construct.
Paul Blart, Al Bob Boop Bob, Shigar.
Paul Blart, R. Shigar.
You guys will get that in the future, don't worry.
It'll, Chekhov's Paul Blart, Al Bagar.
Makes sense.
We have perhaps the most special episode of Not So Subtle to date because we've watched our favorite film, and some might say the greatest film ever made, Halloweentown 2, Kalabar'S Revenge, a Disney Channel original film.
It's a bit of a miracle that this happened on this day. Mm-hmm. Like, the chances of this happening are so low, so astronomically
They are very low.
That this truly made me believe in a higher power after this, that we could possibly have this chance.
You were shaken after.
That's unbelievable.
For days after this, I looked at the world completely differently. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a different perspective on life and what it means to
be a Cromwell,
to really live
as a witch and a warlock,
as a Cromwell, and a whatever Calabar's last name is.
Crom ne'er-do-well.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's probably just Calabar.
Crom ne'er-do-well. Get out. That was not bad. Yeah, guys. So if you think we're joking about this being our favorite film, first off, we're not. This is one of the best movies ever made. But the fact that we pulled this for the Halloween episode is something to. It's a marvel.
It's like
it is a miracle. It can be described as nothing but a miracle.
My first thought was, there's no way we couldn't have possibly pulled this film out of all the films. There's like 30 plus films still in there, and then Dane manages to choose the only Well, I guess we do have the movie Halloween, but the real Halloween movie on the last time we're gonna watch. Like it's
too wild. It's too much. And so we watched that, and we're gonna talk about it because there's a lot to talk about with that movie because it's a film.
It's a film.
It's a film, and then
I'll have you know
we have. It was a busy week for video games. We got some Assassin's Creed, Super Mario Odyssey, Wolfenstein 2. Coulter played Doki Doki Literature Club.
I haven't played multiplayer games with my friends in months.
It's been a minute.
Just kidding.
We've been doing some single player stuff, but we also you saw Blade Runner, both Blade Runners.
Yeah.
And Happy Death Day.
Yeah.
Yes.
You had the same level of enthusiasm, which is very confusing to me.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
We'll start to decode that as it goes on.
All right. Well, it is a packed episode. Where should we start? Start with Halloweentown?
Yes.
The movie on everyone's minds.
We got to start out with the spooky skatey.
That's all we want to talk about, so let's
all right, guys. You know how the Wacky Film List works. It's 10 out of 10. That's it. You guys know how the Wacky Film List works. And if you don't, the way it works is we have a bag, not a hat. It's a bag that I have to clarify every time. We reach in, we pull out a random film, and we talk about it. And we review it. And they're all very professional opinions. And we are professional reviewers. Mm-hmm. Quick disclaimer.
Our words must be taken as law.
Siskel, Ebert, Miller, LaPointe, Potter.
The big five.
Yeah, the big five.
The big five. Wait.
Was that 5 people? I lost count.
I don't know.
Tangent incoming here. Did you guys hear about, like, the Chicago 5 or something like that? There's, like, a news story.
What?
No.
So there are these kids that decided to throw rocks off of a freeway overpass. Actually, yes. And for some reason, they called the perpetrators, who were a bunch of like high school boys, the Chicago 5. I might be getting the city name wrong.
That sounds like the Defenders.
Yeah, why did they give them like a cool name?
Yeah, give them like a superhero group name.
I don't know if this is the same story, but like from what I remember of this, they dropped a like 5 or 6 pound rock off of the overpass and it killed someone afterwards. Yeah, and like they're going to jail for this.
Yeah.
Like when you say the Chicago 5, that makes me think of some sort of Al Capone old.
I was literally about to say that, group. The Chicago 5 struck today in the Valentine's Day massacre or whatever. Like,
it's not okay. Don't give them.
We shouldn't have even
name.
talked about it.
I didn't realize that. I didn't hear about this.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Anyways, we don't
just
need to talk
keep
about it.
the Chicago 5 in your mind and heart.
That's wild. Okay. Yeah, so we pick out a random movie and we talk about it, and this week, by the grace of God, or whatever being exists up...
Halloween's God.
The Halloween spirits.
The Dabbing Reaper.
Yeah, the Dabbing Reaper guided us to HALLOWEENTOWN 2 Kalabar'S Revenge, and we watched it. Yes, and our lives will never be the same.
Do you guys remember the last time you had seen this movie, if ever? We've all seen it.
Hey, look, I mentioned. Look, I've seen it countless times. I mentioned this while we were watching it. I watched it live.
Yeah, that was a hilarious comment.
I was like, oh, I watched this live. I don't remember when I said that.
I remember watching this live. I was like, bullshit.
No, I did actually watch it live though, because I remember.
How old
and even
were you?
as we were 2001, I must have been
6,
7,
No,
5.
It must have been
4.
3rd grade, probably.
6,
3.
Right? First grade.
You were either 6 or 7.
Probably like 6. I'm gonna go with 7. I don't know.
Cool.
You sat down with the fam to watch good old.
I think
Calabar.
I might have watched it by myself. I don't know. Look, if you're a parent, would you really want to? I'm not weak.
Watching that.
Would you really want to watch this with your kid? Like,
absolutely not.
This is the kind of movie that you like get dragged to the theater to go see with your kid, but you didn't have to get dragged to a theater because it's just on TV.
Yeah.
It's the perfect solution.
It's the perfect film.
Well, yes, but it's perfect for parents too, because they can just like get drunk or whatever and stay at home
or enjoy the movie. It's a great film.
Alcohol would help.
I agree.
Yeah, this movie
is a treasure.
I mean, there's no getting around it. It's a masterpiece.
I'm gonna come right out and say
there's no dancing around this. Look, guys, 10 out of 10, A+, best picture, whatever award you want to give this, it deserves the highest honor across the board.
I'll say it then. This is the greatest movie ever made.
Guys, with every opinion, there is a secondary opinion, and I have to say that this is the best film I've ever seen.
Without a doubt.
I understand what Coulter and Jordan are saying, but I just want to throw in my 2 cents that this is easily the greatest achievement by mankind. It's the best movie.
I mean, previously I thought Apocalypse Now was a movie that might be my favorite movie of all time. I was wrong. It's Halloween 2 Kalabar'S Revenge. I forgot how good it was.
Look. You think you've seen a movie, right? You think you've seen a movie, and you watch it again, and you get touched, and you go on a thrill ride, and
I'm sorry.
What? It touches your heart, and you go on a thrill ride, and it's an adventure you'll never forget. And that's what we watch film for, right? That's why we watch movies. Yeah. That's what HALLOWEENTOWN 2 does in spades. Every second in this movie, I'm reminded why film exists today, because the medium is able to convey so much emotion.
Yeah.
We talked about the golden age of film. This was like the icing on the cake.
This is the revitalization of the golden age of film, I think. Because before...
It was all downhill after...
Before 2001, maybe like a little bit after like the middle of the 80s, there was nothing. Like, just erase all that, because this just overrides everything. It's so good.
It's...
Look, from the opening sequence,
the story,
I was riveted.
The story of Marnie and her grandmother, Aggie. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
Is... a heartfelt, thought-provoking adventure through a fantasy world and also time.
Unlike any other.
You're damn right.
Film.
Look, they
have everything you want.
It's stunning.
The chills, the feels.
It has the laughs, the romance.
Yeah,
the terror.
Romantic subplots.
It's amazing.
2001 was a lit year for movies. They're all not as good, but
they pale in
let
comparison.
me just read off some movies here. Shrek.
Damn.
Harry Potter, and I believe the second one, The Chamber of Secrets. Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring.
Damn.
Monsters Incorporated. Good movie, all right? I don't want to hear anything bad about it.
Monsters Inc. is a good movie.
That is a Pixar film.
Okay.
You're like, all right.
Ocean's 11.
Great movie.
Heard good things.
And I know there's a lot more, but give me some time here.
Look, so...
Donnie Darko came out. That was wow.
You know what? They had to... I think we mentioned this when we talked about Donnie Darko.
The Fast and the Furious.
They actually had to cut the marketing for that movie because of the plane crash being heavily featured in the marketing materials, and it was after 9/11, of course. So they're like, I don't know about that.
Wait, which?
Donnie Darko.
Donnie Darko.
Because it probably released around Halloween. That was like a Halloween movie. It was like a dark, like...
I wouldn't doubt it.
Like scary thriller horror movie. So yeah, I think that's part of the reason why that movie didn't do very well, because they were like, you know what, we're just gonna cut all this material because this is terrible.
Yeah.
That's kind of a tangent, but
yeah. Okay, lit year for kids movies: Spy Kids, Shrek, Monsters Inc., Harry Potter. Yeah, Spy Kids 1.
God damn.
Also
Harry
a
Potter
classic.
and the Sorcerer's. No, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Atlantis.
It's pretty good. It's okay.
It was good at the time. The Princess Diaries.
oof,
Good film.
oof.
Never seen it.
I just look at you like, what do you have to say? Osmosis Jones.
Good film.
Oh
lit.
yeah, that's a good movie,
We got Jimmy Neutron, the film.
dude. 2001 was fucking
It's a
lit,
film.
dude. That is a film.
Spirited Away.
Damn.
Also-
Pretty
film.
good. And then we got the Recess film. I didn't really watch that.
That was never a big.
I don't know if I saw
I liked
that.
Recess.
into Recess that
I don't know
much.
if I saw the
Really?
movie. I probably did actually.
Max Keeble's Big Move. I watched this.
Lit.
Did you guys?
Dude, yeah, dude. McGoogles is me name.
Only 90s
You think
kids
for
will
a
get
second
this.
I don't remember Max Keeble's? You're dead wrong. It's a fucking awesome movie.
Only 90s babies will get this. Wait, Luck of the Irish came out the same year? Let's
Oh.
go.
Let's go, dude.
Just some straight up bangers on 2001, dude.
Dude, 2001 came out of the gate swinging, bro.
Oh my
But
god.
that's pretty much it.
All right, so look, it's a testament to the quality of this movie that all of those movies came out in the same year, and none of them compare at all to. Look,
Only one stands among them.
Fellowship of the Ring, one of the most celebrated openings, maybe of any film series of all time, came out in the same year as Halloweentown 2: Kalabar'S Revenge, and it doesn't hold a fucking candle to this movie, because
Listen,
this movie is incredible.
Lord of the Rings.
It's a gift.
Fellowship of the Ring. Fantastic film.
It's a great movie.
It's no Halloweentown 2, that's for sure.
The effects, good. All right.
Look,
the effects in
flawless.
Calabar 2, great.
Look, the effects in Halloweentown 2 set a new precedent for the film industry, for just... I never believed in magic until I saw this with my very own eyes.
This
And
movie
it,
makes you believe.
it makes you believe in magic.
The only thing
in a young
that-
girl's heart. Marnie.
Yeah.
I should say Marnie is one of the best. She's the best.
Leads of all time.
Oh, easily.
Really good.
Let me just finish here real quick about the only thing that compares to the effects in this film, even remotely, is the pie cut, the flan cut in Spirited Away,
Oh,
same
yeah.
year.
Oh, yeah.
You can tell the same amount of
Both-
detail went into this film as it did that single scene of Spirited Away.
Yeah.
That
You can
one
tell, you
frame.
can feel the passion from the director in that.
Yeah, that
Like-
one frame of Spirited Away, I think, is...
Well, it's
speaks
many
volumes.
frames. The best thing about
Well,
it is that
that's-
it's quite a few frames.
That's right. It's so fluid, and it just says so much about the character and about like the amount of effort that was put into the movie. And I think that every single shot of Kalabar's Revenge
Is like
evokes
that.
that same feeling. Yeah, it's amazing. It's incredible, actually.
So yeah, I'll give that movie 6 hats out of 6. And 6 Halloween hats. Witches hats, I guess. Out of 6.
What is a witch hat called? Is it just called a witch's hat?
Yeah.
Like a little
You
like
got it.
pokey?
Yeah, it's a witch hat.
A witch hat. All right. I thought they would have like a cool name.
No.
You got your
Like
fedoras. You got your
a Weedly?
trophies. Yeah.
A what?
A Zweebwop,
A Zimmerman.
a Zimmerman.
A Zimmerman. Yeah, I mean, I would easily give this movie... I wish there was a different scale to put this movie on, because I think it deserves to stand on its own, just in general. But I'd probably give it a... I mean, probably... I'd easily give it a 10 out of 10. Very easily, without a second thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the best movies. I'm just gonna need to watch this movie probably every year for the rest of my life, just to remind myself of what's possible with film.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because it's just...
Think about once a year is a really good way to watch this movie. So.
Yeah, every Halloween. Yeah.
It was an instant classic the year it came out.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So.
2001: A Space Odyssey, 2001: A Calabar's Revenge,
A Calabar's.
A Calabar 2.
I heard that Stanley Kubrick actually was in talks to direct this film, and he unfortunately passed away before doing so.
However,
and it was
he
one
did
of the
create.
great tragedies.
That's true,
yeah.
but he did create the shot where he's speaking like Calabar, the son, Cal.
You're right.
Is speaking within a stone, and you can see his face like inside of the stone,
Right, that
where
was-
the Great Pumpkin should be.
Right, and that was actually his last, essentially, like his last gift to the world before he left us.
That scene's one of the most emotionally
Charged.
charged and genuinely haunting scenes in any film I've seen in a very long time. So.
You can just feel the menace just dripping off the screen. Absolutely. Almost like you can just feel like...
And the acting, it's just
don't even talk to me about the acting.
The acting would be nothing without the masterful script.
It's written
because this script is
great.
It transcends the English language. It transcends film production, screenwriting. Just it's elevated onto another plane, and I think it's only a testament to the actors in terms of like how they're able to rise up to such a script. Like, how do you even do that?
They do it justice for sure.
Well, it's so hard. I mean, this script is just.
I mean, Dylan in particular. How could you even?
Dylan, fucking
Academy Award winning.
He goes his character arc. I think I said this during the film. He has a good character arc.
One of the best.
He goes from just kind of that kind of comic relief. He's
kind of jaded.
He's the realist in there, but then at the end he believes.
At the beginning of the film, he says, "I'm not one for Halloween." Yeah. At the end of the film, he is the one that turns Benny back into a skeleton. Now, is that someone that doesn't like Halloween?
No,
he loves it. He's in Halloweentown.
Is that someone that's not a true
and plus
wizard?
How could he cast that spell if he didn't truly believe in the magic within his heart?
Mm-hmm.
Because they explain it. They explain it in the movie that Sophie tells him, all you have to do is feel it. Don't even think about it. Just feel it. And all he had to do was feel the whole time.
One of the things, as I rewatched this movie, I wish that they had done a side story about Dylan, because I feel like he was actually an interesting character in there, and I kind of wanted to see where he goes.
That's why we have Return to Halloweentown.
Yeah, he does like seem to play a big part in that movie for some reason. I haven't seen that one. I'll let you guys know that right now. I haven't seen Return to Halloweentown.
Nor have I. But it's basically the HD glorious
They're going to which
copy
university
that we're all looking for.
I would say it's the Return of the King of the Halloweentown film series.
Sure.
If for no other reason than it's called Return to Halloweentown.
Right, and also it's the third and most likely best chapter of the trilogy.
Well, I believe it's the fourth.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because Halloweentown High actually contains the actor who plays Marnie, and it was in 2004. Meanwhile, Return to Halloweentown was in 2006.
Okay. Well, maybe it was all building up to Return to Halloweentown. And Halloweentown High was like a fluffer.
Sure.
They're all fantastic.
Halloweentown Saga is so great that it has a 2-part trilogy finale.
Right.
In the first part, you see Marnie in her high school habitat. In the second part, we see a completely different actress portray Marnie in her college habitat, which is groundbreaking. I don't know if anyone's ever done that.
It's really good.
Well,
recasting the same, recasting the character to a different person and then acting like it didn't happen, that's groundbreaking.
It is. And even with, the continuation from the first one to Halloweentown 2, Kalabar'S Revenge, you can see the progression in age, and you've seen how the character has developed over time, and I don't think any other series has captured that feeling so well.
She actually gets 4 years older or something.
Do we know when the first one came out? Was it?
No.
Okay.
I can find out, though.
Because they do look like they have aged somewhat.
Wait, guys, silence until I figure it out.
Okay.
No.
A minute of silence.
Yeah, I just feel like, obviously, Fellowship of the Ring, to go back to that, great movie. Fantastic movie. I feel like Halloweentown 2 was robbed. Because why was this not at the Oscars?
I don't understand.
The Academy Awards, they fucked up a lot. I get that. But you cannot, I won't ever forgive them for this. I can't.
Oscars so white, more like Oscars so Christmas, because they're so biased against Halloween.
because they hate Halloween.
Oscars so jolly. It came out in, the original Halloweentown film came out in 1998.
Okay, so there was definitely, they gave the characters time to mature and to learn from their experiences and their trials and tribulations in the first Halloweentown film. And then when Kalabar is finally ready to get his revenge, and he comes back through the form of his son.
True.
I feel like it gives you so much time to grow and feel connected to these characters that you feel you feel real peril and fear for them when they're in these situations because it's so real. It's so palpable.
It's similar to Harry Potter, in which a lot of people felt as they grew up with Harry Potter. You know, you see each movie and you're like, wow, he's getting older. The characters are getting older. I'm growing up with them.
And they're going through like life.
Yeah, you get that same feeling.
That's right.
At watching Halloweentown. Granted, I didn't go to university in 2006, but I bet if I watched that movie now, I would be like, wow, that actually...
Like, the parallels are
deeply, I feel deeply relatable to Marnie 2.0 and her
Marnie
struggles.
2.0.
You can see Aggie get closer and closer to the cold clutches of the grave. I don't know what you're laughing at. That's not very
Oh my god.
I mean, it's spooky.
No,
it's
it
a
is.
Halloweentown touch.
It is, yeah. I mean that's what you return to these movies for over and over again is that classic Halloweentown flair that they bring to every film.
You never know when like one of the actors is going to die.
That's right, because at any moment they could just slip away.
Guys, I found
Cherish what you have.
I found
trying to say.
Correct. I found an article that says there could actually be a fifth Halloweentown starring the original Marnie.
No.
Halloweentown is without a doubt the most cherished Disney Channel original movie franchise with some of the most passionate fans on Earth. That's why fans revolted when Disney recast Kimberly J. Brown's Marnie without reason in the fourth movie, and fans refuse to acknowledge the movie's existence to this day.
I don't. I can't forget what Kimberly J. Brown did for me. I don't even see her as Kimberly J. Brown anymore. I see her as Marnie.
Sherry Singer, the executive producer of the series, chatted E! Online about the prospect of a fifth movie, and she's beyond down for the cause. Their words. I'm not sure yet. It says, I'd have to get Disney Channel to get on board, but I would like to, Sherry said. That's confirmation.
It's coming.
That's literally just saying, like, I need the one, like, party that can make this to happen, like, want to do it, and she hasn't done that yet from the sound of it. So I don't think that's happening. That's like saying, yeah, like, I'd love to be president of the United States, but I need, like, the people to...
But the opportunity is there.
The opportunity is there for sure. But it always was. I just don't know if... When was that article made? It should have some sort of date on there, champ.
It's not at the top. And it's not at the bottom.
Interesting.
Well, it's probably best we don't know.
Yeah,
Just
because
keep
we don't
that
want to
thought
get
in
our
your-
hopes
in
up,
your
but
mind,
we
yeah.
can always wish that one day we'll see the return of Marnie.
That's
the real Marnie.
Can I just be real? That's so garbage that they like said there could actually be a fifth Halloweentown movie, and it's like all we need to do is get Disney Channel to make one.
Yeah, that was like the biggest clickbait title of all time.
We just
It's
need
like
the stars
I'd
to
be
align.
down.
Yeah,
That's no confirmation, I'll tell you that.
At least someone out there who was part of that series is still willing to make it. You know.
Yeah, and I feel like I'd love to see, a return to Halloweentown, a true return to Halloweentown with Marnie, where maybe she is the head of the Cromwell line, and she is like, she is like the grandma that's like influencing her grandchildren, and then like, that mom is like, no, like maybe Marnie is old enough to have kids, and then like they have kids, right?
We're talking quite a few years down the line.
Like Marnie has to be pretty old.
So you're saying she has grandchildren?
Well, I want her to basically be Aggie.
Okay.
So that it comes full circle, where now Marnie is the grandma who's like the bad influence on the kids, and the mom's like, "Why are you taking Halloweentown?" and all that stuff, and they're like freaking out.
That's precise what you just did there.
Right.
That was accurate.
Just like DJ Khaled.
Cool.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't really know what else I could say about this movie because I can't see a single flaw.
I think we've said a lot.
Yeah.
And spoken our true feelings about it. Mm-hmm. Laid out our feelings as much as we could. And
how we really feel about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because, guys, we've been saying it since the beginning of the podcast. This isn't a joke. This is the best... This is the movie.
I don't know how many times we've mentioned Calabar 2, Halloweentown 2. Those words come up in daily conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not an accident.
It's not. And I feel like there was a greater power, some sort of guiding hand that led us to watch this film together. And I will cherish the memory forever.
It's really a magical experience. So
10 out of 10.
Perfect film.
Fair.
Coulter, how did you feel about this movie? Well, how would you recommend this film?
Man, I would have to recommend this film to just anyone.
Just literally anyone.
Anyone and everyone.
Because I feel like this is something that should be like families can enjoy this ride over and over again.
Whether you're young, you're old,
I would recommend this film.
All right, done. End.
Amazing.
Finn.
All right. Guys, that was our review of HALLOWEENTOWN 2 Kalabar'S Revenge.
Yep.
I highly suggest that if you do not own this movie, you purchase the $467 Amazon Collector's Edition that actually comes with a real-life 2-scale mask of Debbie Reynolds, the titular Aggie from...
That's the titular how that works.
That's not how it works at all. Anyway, just look it up on Amazon. It's a fantastic Collector's Edition, and I feel like every HALLOWEENTOWN fan deserves to own a piece of the HALLOWEENTOWN magic.
I'd also like to point out that normally when we watch the movies, we rent them or we have them on Netflix or something. This movie was bought.
Oh, we purchased this movie.
It's now on Coulter's Amazon account.
I will be able to watch this movie on my deathbed, and I will.
Every year we can watch this movie on Halloween now. I'm so happy about that. So excited.
It's a gift that keeps on giving.
Can't wait till next year.
The best $2.99 you'll ever spend.
Yeah. What a steal. $2.99.
That's a fucking steal. Dude, $2.99? Are you kidding me, dude?
Haunted Mansion, $18 to buy that movie.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. $2.99. That's you can't. The cheapest item at Starbucks is probably like $57. Like,
you won't find a better deal today.
You won't. Just forgo your fucking grande mochaccino frappe soy vegan gender bent latte.
Sure.
And just buy this fucking movie because you won't regret it, and it's the gift that truly keeps on giving. You'll feel it in your heart, and you will never forget this film.
Absolutely. All right, I think that covers that.
I think the podcast needs to stop.
Well,
anything we talk about will just pale in comparison to this.
That's true. People will understand though
if we continue.
Listen, we set the bar really high this time, and I get that, but we knew this was going to happen.
That's right. It was only a matter of time.
Thank you guys for watching. It's been a great ride.
We've hit our peak.
Yeah, this is the pinnacle of life, really.
Wild ride.
My whole life has led up to this moment.
Man, it's crazy.
It was garbage.
I'm going to cry. It was garbage?
Oh, wait. What?
Huh? It was garbage.
Are you kidding me right
What?
now? Are you kidding me right now?
What?
No, are you guys being serious?
I mean, I don't know what he just said. It sounded like... I don't know what
Coulter said, but it
I
feel like I said it was
I
garbage.
feel stressed. I feel like you just said something about...
I just wanted to say, my true thoughts.
You have no idea how...
I thought that movie was garbage.
You have no idea how much this movie means to me.
Yeah, no, it means a lot to me, too.
Me too, dude. It was garbage.
Movie shit.
All right, guys. Well, Coulter, you saw Blade Runner, right?
I did, yeah. So,
both Blade Runner.
Yes, I saw the first one, and I needed to see the first one because of everybody's recommendation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the first one was pretty good.
Which version did
Please
you
tell me.
I did watch the final cut.
Yes. Yes. Guys, if you're... Really quickly. If you're out there listening to this and you haven't seen the original Blade Runner 1, probably don't listen to this because I'm assuming we're going to spoil it and talk about plot points.
I'm not going to talk too heavily about the first movie. But...
Okay. It's been out since, 80 whatever, so if you haven't seen it, you're lost. But if you're going to watch it, you have to watch the final cut. There's the regular cut, there's the theatrical release, the director's cut, and the final cut. And the final cut is the definitive version of this film.
Sure.
As confirmed by pretty much the entire crew that filmed this movie. So if you're gonna watch Blade Runner,
the director's true vision.
Yeah, so watch the final cut if you're gonna watch this. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was looking at what version to watch or whatever, and it seemed like this was the real version.
Was it pretty unanimous?
Yeah. Apparently there are 8 different cuts of this movie or something like that. Because there's cuts that aren't the main 3 that went to certain forms of DVD or home release or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of deleted scenes and mishmash stuff together, and
yeah.
I
just heard a sound behind me.
When I decided to watch the original Blade Runner, it took me about 3 website searches to know, okay, everyone is just saying watch the final cut. That's the one that I went with.
It's a safe bet.
Pretty definitive choice there, I feel like.
Apparently the final cut like wasn't released until somewhat recently.
Yeah, like
it's like 2007, I think.
Yeah, late 2000s. Pretty interesting that it came out that late, but
I think it just goes to show the staying power of the movie. Because people were still...
It's definitely got a cult following.
Oh, yeah. And I feel like people were still talking about it. And, like, I think the reason that he released that is because people were still discussing and debating certain plot points that he wanted to make a little bit clearer, like, to himself, probably, just so he didn't feel guilt that he was, like... that he left it unfinished or he didn't want to leave it, like, too vague. So I think he went back. And also, like, I think the studio interfered initially because they were, like... They said it was going to be too heady or too boring or like something that it wasn't going to connect with general audiences, and so like they fucked with like the editing.
There was a test screening that like people said that they couldn't really understand what was happening, which is fair.
I think I mentioned this on the last podcast, but the final cut, like and even the director's cut, they went out of their way to make the ending more vague, and the reason the theatrical cut is like a phoned-in ending is because like the studio heads basically saw it and went, yeah, the audience need to see some happy like ending. They're not going to accept this, and that's why they did whatever ending in the
like the narration with
that was part of it. But the final cut is like the ending of the final cut is vague. All that stuff is vague at the end, and that's more of the point, I feel like.
It is, but I feel like it's vague and like just how it is presented to the audience, but it's more of what he wanted.
Yeah.
Like that in the sense that he didn't want it to be vague in terms of like being left unfinished or whatever. So he like wanted his true vision or whatever to be out there, it's interesting that it came out like 20 plus years after, or like almost 30 years probably after the original release.
Yeah. So
yeah. The visuals were like insane. I wanted to know like more about how they did it. Like I probably may have been more interested in like how they did some of the crazy shots than the actual movie itself.
Yeah.
The city was just so cool. Like I feel like even better than 2049. Like the original movie just like looked so good.
Doesn't it just hold up so well?
The visuals, yeah.
That's what stuck with me is like, and that was one of my complaints with 2049 is that I wanted to see that city because that representation of a sci-fi cyberpunk city is like what they did in the original Blade Runner is the pinnacle like example of that, and like they do that a little bit in 2049, but they also go to way more different places. But I really just enjoyed that like dirty city, the apartment blocks they're looking at. Just it looks really like. That world that they set up, and that world in the original Blade Runner is just a city. Like, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
I just love how, like, I haven't watched the original in a while. I think I've only seen it actually all the way through once. But I've watched, like, behind-the-scenes stuff. But just in clips, like, you probably remember it since you saw it more recently, but when he's walking around in the city, there's so much going on in terms of, like, actual things, like cars and, like, little, like, makeshift like wagons and like people. There's a lot of people walking around all doing different stuff. There's people like yelling at each other. There's like neon lights flashing. Like you're watching that and you're just like, how the hell did they like orchestrate all of this? Because it just looks like organized chaos, but it looks so real. Like you're looking at that and you're like, that's just a city that I could go to.
Yeah,
like they're just filming that in a real ass city, but it's just a set.
It's interesting seeing this after seeing like Attack of the Clones, because it's so obviously Coruscant is so obviously like ripped from the whatever Neo
That's
Tokyo.
True. Yeah.
It's not Neo Tokyo, right?
It's Los Angeles, but it's essentially
Neo LA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's like weird ass Japanese like writing.
Yeah, that's a cyberpunk staple, is using Japanese writing to kind of show like their weird techie like
it's like a weird contrast.
Like an international.
Yeah. And everything's like dirty as fuck and like used and battered, and like everything is analog. Like all of the devices and machines they have are all like they look old, but they're using like weird ass technology. It's so cool. Like it's just amazing.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm not really gonna like remember a lot of the plot stuff from that movie, but I definitely was like taken by the visual element. And I thought it was a really good looking world and stuff like that. So yeah, that was cool. I'm glad I saw that, like, you know, piece of history. The other thing about that is the rape scene, or not the rape scene, but the sexual assault scene.
Yep.
That's insane because I saw the clip of it, and like a video kind of talking about it. But I was like, oh, maybe like there's some sort of context that makes it not as bad like in the movie.
Not really.
But then he just goes into monster mode. He goes into like predator mode at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
And that's insane. Like,
I don't really remember that scene too much.
I saw a tweet that was someone had just recently watched Blade. This is before I had seen it, and they were like, "Oh, Blade Runner, the original, Final Cut, whatever, still holds up. Great movie. The rapey scene still really bad." And I was like,
they need to just get rid of that.
Yeah, and then I watched. I was like, "How? Like that? Even back in 80 whatever, people still should have seen that and go." No,
there's something wrong.
That's not a good scene. That's so bad. You can't be having that in there. That's not okay.
Well, the practical effects are really impressive because I heard that Harrison Ford actually didn't even want to be in that scene, so they got Kevin Spacey to be the body double.
We're not doing that.
It's too soon.
That's going to be cut from this podcast.
Yeah, he literally like goes to the door, like she's starting to open it, he smashes it with his hand, and it's like a loud ass sound, and then he like pushes her up against the window and like
I don't remember this.
Tells her like do you want me or something like that. He's like
say
you want me.
Yeah, it's like say you love me and kiss me. It's like, whoa, buddy, she didn't want to.
He literally tells her to do it.
Like,
but she's a replicant. Who cares? No, that's terrible. Yeah, no, I know. That's the whole point. Yeah, that does sound awful. I don't remember that scene.
Yeah, you're part of the patriarchy, so it's fine.
I don't know if I'm choosing not to remember it or if I feel like I would remember that.
The thing about
I need to watch the clip.
They play it as romantic because there's like romantic music in the background, and so it kind of lulls you into like, okay, this is acceptable when it's just clearly not acceptable if you're watching it like critically.
That scene is actually a very good kind of like eye-opening scene to be like, okay, like this, like you can see where it's like they're making this scene into something that looks acceptable, and you very quickly need to realize like, no, that's not, whatever is happening there is just not okay. And like I watched, I was like, man, like why, how is this, like you re-released this in 2007 with that scene still in it. Come on, like it's not okay. Something had to have happened there. It was
part of the original vision.
I need to watch that, I don't recall.
Granted, I think leaving it in there is true to his vision of whatever Ridley Scott's vision of what the film should have been and how it happened, but it's just that doesn't play well. Now.
Yeah, that was insane.
Or then,
I just wanted to bring that up because that was like one of the main things I took away from that.
It's unfortunate.
So that was pretty cool.
What did you think of the ending? Like the whole ending sequence where he's fighting Roy and like Roy's little speech that he gives before he dies.
I know people have put like a ton of emphasis on that, and like it's definitely, you know, the whole metaphor of like how human are the replicants, and like what if they can be like more human than we are and stuff like that.
Because he's like reminiscing on like life essentially. Yeah,
like basically the folly of man and meaning of life and all this stuff. And it's like the whole part before that was just like a straight up fight.
But then that final sequence, you almost feel bad for him. Like you feel like
I didn't feel bad for him.
When I was watching that, I was like, God damn! Like the whole movie, you're just like, fuck this guy. Like this guy's like, just kill him already.
He like gouged a guy's eyes out. Like, I don't feel bad for a
murderer. He is terrible.
I don't feel bad for him.
But then like the last scene, like
he gets what's coming to him.
First off, that most of that speech is improvised. Because apparently like the original script was like too stiff or something, or like Rutger Hauer said something about it like not feeling right or something like that, so he came up with the whole thing about like the tears and rain and like he's talking about like the ships off the shoulder of Orion and all that stuff. Like a lot of that stuff is actually improvised, and some of it was like taken from the script, so it's not like he just wrote this whole thing like in his head or whatever. But that's like one of the most epic death scenes for like a villain probably ever, in my opinion. Like something just felt so epic about that.
I like what he's trying to say, but I feel the way they do, like, there's that entire scene is very, very heavy-handed, and it's kind of like, I get it. Like the metaphor game is very strong at the end, and it's a little kind of just like they're really throwing it at you. And I like what he's doing. I like the things that he's talking about. I feel like it just kind of like it didn't have to. It doesn't need to go on that long. It doesn't need to be that in your face about it. And that's what I enjoy about that film is the questions it kind of like starts asking, and sometimes it leaves them open to you. But when it delves very deep like that, I don't know if that is the best way to show what I like about that film, at least. But it's an interesting speech, at least.
It's like when you hear it, it kind of takes you back. It like catches you off guard a little bit because you aren't expecting something so like touching and somber to come, especially to come from Roy Batty, and the music that plays, the final like his theme that plays at the end, classic.
I was watching a video,
which they play in 2049.
I was watching a video about like, is the main character a replicant?
Deckard?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, all the clues that they pointed out is like, okay, it's clearly supposed to like shed doubt on the fact that he's human. So like you can think it either way, but obviously they're trying to show that it's definitely possible that he's a robot. So,
well, I think
again, one of the main points of that entire film.
Yeah, and I think there's obviously the scene like in the apartment where both of their eyes are shining in the darkness, and then there's like, and I think it might be specifically in the either both director's cut and the final cut, but or I think it's in the theatrical too, where his partner gives him that little origami unicorn, and I guess that's the way I understand that is that all replicants have implanted memories, and so because his partner knows that he dreams of a unicorn, he must be a replicant because only replicants have that dream like implanted in them or whatever.
Yeah, or the only person that could know that dream is someone that knew his memories, which is not possible unless you're
right.
But what if
because the memories they're just fabricated.
Yeah. What if that's just an original memory from Harrison Ford and it got implanted into his partner?
Was his partner a replicant? No.
How else would he know about the unicorn thing? Unless he knew that memory as well. Why does he know about the unicorn is the question.
I need to look back in it because I feel like there's an answer to that. I don't remember what it is though. Because there's a lot of like there's a lot of things that will go like either way, like depending on how you look at it. It's kind of how you want to look at it, I think. But I'm of the mindset that he is. I think.
At the end of the movie, the partner says, "You've done a man's work," which is like, why did he say that? It's an interesting little tidbit there. I didn't even think about that at the time.
Nor did I, but I will now.
And the other thing is that like, as he's doing this job and killing off these, because the whole thing is that this group of replicants that he's hunting down, all of them had committed like a terrorist attack or something, right? Like they blew up a spaceship or something, and then they like fled to Earth,
killed some people, escaped from a colony.
Like they did something, and they did something. And they came to Earth as like refugees, essentially, or like runaways. And then he was sent to go hunt them down. But as he was doing it, like he didn't have like this bloodlust really to like. He wasn't like wildly hunting these people down like a madman. Like even when he kills Roy, like you can see that he has a little bit of remorse on his face because probably partly because of what he's saying to him when he's dying. But then you also kind of get the sense that like he's kind of begrudgingly doing this. Like he's not really like he doesn't really like feel compelled.
Well, at the beginning of the film, he doesn't want to do any of it in the first place because I'm pretty sure he says like something along the lines of like, "Oh, I'm retired. I don't want to do this anymore." So
yeah. But he's like one of the best they've had or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to look more of that stuff up. But what did you think of it overall?
Fine. I mean, it's a good movie. It was probably really good at the time. Like for now, like I got a fair amount from it, at least from the visuals and like, interesting style.
Did it live up to the hype?
I guess. I mean, I don't really like read into the hype of like old movies that much, especially like cult hits like that. So I didn't really feel a ton of hype watching it. So yeah,
I just feel like everyone talks about the movie as being like the pinnacle of like the genre, essentially. Like there's a lot of like weight on it, I think.
Yeah.
Cool. I think it's well deserved. That is something to take into account. Like for anything, it's like like the hype. Like just temper your expectations a little bit. Don't follow the hype because it only leads to you being massively disappointed when you realize something is not nearly as great as like everyone who's just like fawning over it is.
Right.
Just take a step back and be prepared for, be realistic about your expectations of the thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, what about 2049?
Blade Runner 2049.
Blade Runner.
Jeremy Renner 2049. I didn't really like it.
All right, get out of this.
Oh my god.
I know that it's basically an artistic like experience. It's not really like a movie. It's like an art piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely not for me. Like, yeah, the artistic nature of it. The visuals are obviously really good. For the most part. I mean, they weren't even in the city like as much as me and Jordan like would have wanted. And like the plot was kind of hard to understand. It was kind of all over the place. It was boring, the most drawn out like movie I've ever seen. Literally like me and, so this is kind of a spoiler, just real quick. Chris and I were like, the pinnacle example of it being slow is at the end when he's lowering himself onto the ground, like dying. He literally does it so slow, like just inch by inch laying himself down onto the ground. It's like, you can just fall, you're dead. Like, it's just a funny example. I'm not saying like that's like the trash scene of the movie or anything like that, but that's just a funny example.
That was definitely one of the things I came away from watching that movie was that, and again, I think I said this when I saw it, but it wants you to take that time when those very drawn out scenes are happening where almost no dialogue is occurring to kind of sit there and meditate on what's happening. And I don't know if the film gives you enough to look at to make that worthwhile. Like, it wants you to think like, wow, what are the mysteries of this world? But they don't really show you anything to think about that. They just kind of show you these pretty things, and they're really good looking, and there's some interesting concepts in there, but it dwells on the stuff a lot. Like, yeah, there are some very drawn out scenes, and it's a very long movie. Because
it's almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could definitely be cut down like so much.
What did you think of the scene? It's somewhat near the end where they're kind of in that rebel. They get thrown into like, or he gets rescued or something by those rebel group, and then that's when she tells him to go kill Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
That seemed.
What did I think of that?
Yeah, that scene to me when I saw it, I was like, "What is this in here for?" It
had
that
was
literally
so
zero purpose in the film, other than to either spark a sequel, side story, or some other thing, and pretend to give him motivation to kill Harrison Ford, which was just like, you don't need that in the film. There's another 20 minutes that is just a pointless feature of that film.
I feel like that scene felt a little out of place only because it happened so late in the movie. I feel like I liked the scene, and I liked the concept of them, because the whole time they were kind of, there was like this, and I don't think they did this enough, which is kind of what you're saying, but I don't think they or basically what they were doing is they were trying to create like this underlying tension between humans and replicants by doing all the things where like as he's walking through the police station, he's like looking down, and they're like, you know, calling him like a skinner or like a skin job, and they're like spitting at him and shit, and like they're just treating him like garbage. And like throughout the movie, even when he goes into his like apartment block, people are like blocking him on the stairs, and like there's graffiti all over his house, and like you just get the feeling that there's like almost like it's like a racial like undertone, like it's essentially just racism towards replicants. And so the entire movie, even they hint at it in multiple scenes, like where he talks to like the prostitutes that we later find out were in that rebel group, or like the hookers, or maybe they were just like posing as that or whatever, but she says like when his little phone goes off, she's like, "Oh, you don't like real girls," and they like hint at a lot of things in the society that's kind of like there's like some tension between people and machines and like technology and stuff. And so when they did that scene with the rebel group, I think it was kind of cool because it was showing that all of that tension was kind of like feeling someone or something, like some sort of like uprising against that, instead of it just being like all dire and like just oppressive on these people. It was kind of like showing it from the other perspective and showing them like
I agree.
Doing something about it, which is cool, but it just happens so late. Like it happens so late, and then they don't ever talk about it again.
That's the thing. Is
too little, too late.
I agree.
This
point
the
is
epitome of that situation.
But if they had done that earlier in the movie, I think that would have been one of the most interesting plots.
If that was
probably
a key plot point in the movie, it would have been interesting. But they use that as nothing. Like you said, they want to show that there's some sort of uprising. They just like give you, and again, this is one of my criticisms of the movie. They give you a glance at it, but there's nothing there. Like, they just show you a picture and just go, yep, and then they just go to the next scene. It's like, well,
that's
explain
what I mean.
this. Like, why isn't this a major point of the movie? It's just in there for, like, I love that movie, but those extended sequences of, like, why is this in here? Doesn't need to be in here. Like, just cut that stuff out. It was so pointless in that movie.
So, what I'll say is that I recently read that, and I mean, people always say this, so this might not be true at all, but apparently the original cut of that movie was over 4 hours long, and it was a two-parter. And so I don't know if it was like a two-part where they were going to release it like, one summer and then the next summer like The Hobbit or whatever, or like Twilight, or if it was going to be like literally like you see the movie and then there's like an intermission and then you watch the other, like essentially the second part, which is a full other movie because they're both like 2+ hour long films, 2 parts. And he, like, I guess the director was saying that he wanted to create like a literal epic of the movie. And there was like a bunch of scenes with Jared Leto and like Ryan Gosling and a bunch of stuff that they like actually filmed that was just like hours and hours of footage that was cut out of the movie. So I'm curious. I don't think we'll ever see it, but I'm curious if they'll do, not to like milk out cut. Well, not to milk out money and do something like that where it's like, oh, here goes Blade Runner with the final cut again. But I really am curious to see if we'll see like a extended edition or like a director's cut or some sort of like director's vision or something where they have like at least like a half an hour of footage or something that they
I wouldn't doubt that, because it certainly seems that there are things in that movie that they are leaning towards and that they want to explore. Like the thing with Jared Leto too is not like looked at very much at all. He's kind of in there for a little bit here and there and propped up as a villain, but not like nothing comes of that. And so you could definitely see like a point in the movie where like, if this movie was another 2 hours and however long, they would get to that sequence and they would get to that rebel uprising and they would get to Jared Leto falling in his business empire and doing all this stuff, but they just never do it.
Yeah, I wonder why we probably didn't get to see that because no one in their right mind would go to the theater and watch a 4 hour long movie, but also like it leaves you kind of longing for something more from the movie. Like when I left the theater, I do love that movie. I think it's probably one of the best. I think it's one of the best movies I've ever seen, for a lot of reasons.
Oh my god!
I think it is, honestly. But
Jesus Christ!
But I feel like it could have been something different.
Yeah.
So
it's funny that we just like discussed like all sorts of like nothing. It doesn't sound good, like the things we're talking about, and then it's like, but I love the film.
But it's just because of like, I don't know. There's I would say a film is either like really good or perfect or whatever for different reasons, but for this movie, like I think it's the epitome of like what I like about film, and that's like being transported to another time or place. And I don't know. Yeah. I liked existing in that world for that time. Like for the time that I watched that movie, I was completely riveted by everything that was happening. Mm-hmm. So, and it is slow, and I don't even think it's doing very well at the box office. Because I feel like this is not, like, it was billed as a, like, general audience, like, crowd pleaser more than it definitely is, because this is not, like, your Jason Bourne.
This is for diehards.
Yeah,
this is for like people that love the first one, that are going to delve so deeply into it, and they're asking you to commit so much.
They are, and I feel like a lot of people either aren't prepared, aren't capable, or aren't, like, willing to do that. So I feel like that's why a lot of people like will walk away from this movie being like, I thought Harrison Ford was going to kill more people, or like, I know that's not what you're saying, but I mean like I think a lot of people will go to this expecting like a summer blockbuster, and they're going to walk out and be like, what the fuck did I watch? Like I had to watch 3 hours of like an art house indie film.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the marketing was misleading, I think.
And I said my piece on our last podcast, I think, when we talked about it. There are plenty of things that I love about this movie. And there are some scenes in there that are genuinely, like, touching. Like, I thought that memory sequence was, like, the best acted sequence in that entire movie, bar none, because it had the most, like, dialogue and the most emotion.
In what scene?
Like, where Kay and the woman who implants memories are.
Oh, where he's checking together. To see if the memory was
like,
real.
That's, like, a really, like, touching sequence, but nothing else really comes close to that, and, like, that is... Like, I want to see more of that. Like, that's a really interesting concept that, again, they don't delve into very much. They, like, show it to you and make a cool sequence out of it, but just doesn't go there long enough. And, yeah.
I think the opening of the film is really strong. I like the first time that you like when he leaves the farm after he kills Sapper, and he's like, his ship is flying and it's kind of raining, and it's like very introspective, and then you get that shot of him flying over LA, but it's like the slums of LA where it's like the apartment, like the blocks of the city are so close together that all you see is like there's lights like bouncing off the walls. And like the music that first off, I think the score is like, this is one of the few times where, and I know I like all scores, but I think this is one of the few times where you can really only enjoy this score when you're watching the movie, because it's a lot of just sounds and noises and like it's like I don't know, they evoke a lot of feelings out of you when you're matched with the visuals. If you were to listen to that score on your own, like on Spotify, it would just be like, it might be impossible to listen to because it's just so loud and abrasive and everything. But I really liked it when I was watching the movie. I just feel like they set up the world so well. Like, if you've seen the original Blade Runner, I'm not as upset that they didn't spend as much time in the city because it's already been established. So it's not really like they're trying to flourish and kind of like show off this and kind of, like not pad the movie, but they're not trying to just throw a bunch of shots of the city in the movie. It's kind of like, it's there, he lives in it, they're just kind of treating it as if it's just a city. Like they're not really trying to like overblow it. So I kind of like how they handled it, actually. I mean, I would have liked to see more of the city, but I'm not upset that they didn't.
Something else is that they spent a ton of time, almost like the full B story was about him and the virtual girl. I think they could have just cut that whole thing, but I think that was the most straightforward, okay, I know what the deal is with this girl, and this is like an interesting relationship. I understand this plot, this B story, way better than I understand the main story, so like, make that the whole movie, maybe, or something like that.
I hear a lot of people saying they didn't understand the story. What didn't you understand about it? Or like,
I don't know. I mean, about it? Just the way the whole thing. Every scene, I was going, "What?" Like, I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. It's hard to like explain what I didn't know about it. I don't know. I'm not going to go plot point by plot point through it because I don't think that's worth it.
Well, from what I understood, the whole plot point, the straightforward plot point and like the easy to explain plot point is that they discovered that a baby was born by a replicant, and they were trying to find the child because they were either going to kill the child and erase all evidence of that happening because it would, like as she was saying, it would disrupt like what the world knows to be true, because if the replicants find out that if either side finds out that is possible, then it's going to like turn everything on its head, and there'll be like a civil war, there'll be like, society will crumble and all this stuff because these replicants are supposedly like the most obedient and all this kind of stuff. But we know through K that it's possible for them to...
Yeah, like, over the course of like 2.5 hours, I was able to surmise that was kind of the general plot. But there's no part where it's like, oh, okay, they're telling me what is happening here. Now I like know it. It's like, okay, through context clues, through like 70 different like conversations, I can now figure out what the plot is. It's like, I don't want a slice of life. I want a movie where I can see clearly plot point by plot point what's happening. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
I kind of liked the whole aspect of, I get that. I kind of liked the whole aspect of like, because it is more of a noir and a mystery and like kind of like a investigative and like meditative film than even maybe the first one was, and I feel like a lot of people either weren't expecting that or weren't looking for it. But I kind of liked how, as the movie went on, you were led to believe that certain things were true. Like they kind of make you believe that Kay is the child, and like I don't know if you thought that, but pretty much everyone I've talked to has been like, I thought he was the kid the whole time until the very end, when the rebel group leader like tells him that it was the daughter, which is interesting because like even that plot point is kind of cool, because when he says, or he like kind of breaks down or whatever, it looks like he's about to cry, he's like all sad, and then she's like, oh, you thought you were the child, like, oh, we all think that, or we all hope that. And so it's kind of showing like from their perspective that they all wish that they were like something more than they are. I don't know, there's just so many questions there's so many small things that like if you are given time to think about it, I think they're like pretty important. Like I think they're pretty heavy.
Yeah.
But it's just when you're watching the movie, they don't really beat you over the head or very like obviously show or tell you any of that.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what I like about it, actually.
Yeah, it's just a different style of movie.
Yeah.
Like, just not my preference, but yeah, interesting. I definitely can't say it's a badly made film. Like,
no,
there's a lot there to enjoy. So
it's a movie that I almost want to watch again just so I can focus on the parts that I found unclear, but also I don't want to watch that movie again right now. It's very long.
Yeah.
I will be buying it on Blu-ray.
There was a guy next to me in the theater that was laughing at stuff that was dead serious. Like when there's the replicant that Jared Leto was making and she's in like the sandwich bag or whatever, and then she falls and like hits the ground. The guy laughed at that.
Classy
Guy. There's another part that he laughed at that we brought up earlier. When like the memory scene that you were talking about where they're both looking into the little thing, and then for the first time, like in the whole movie, sad Jasmine has emotion, and he like screams. I was actually, that woke me up. I was like, okay, this is a movie. And then the guy laughed. I was like, ooh, man, that is a dead serious moment. And
yeah, that's like a very laughing. Like that's probably one of the most serious moments in the entire movie.
Yeah, you're supposed to like feel emotion other than the
direct opposite of laughter.
Yeah.
That's funny. Did you like the scene where she says, or where he says, "I've never killed anything with a soul before," and then she's like, "Oh, I think you've been doing pretty well so far." And he's like, he turns around, he's like, "What?" And she's like, "Oh, without the whole soul part, or like not having a soul or whatever it was." Like that part kind of stopped me in my tracks. I was like, "Oh, there. Damn!" Like,
or some good
that's interesting.
Writing.
Yeah, like the script was pretty good throughout. I thought stuff like that definitely shown through.
Again, those are good lines. Like that's great writing and great dialogue. There's not that the movie is silent for a lot of the film. I want more of that character interaction, which there just isn't a lot of in this movie. It's very just one person and another person not talking usually. They're like in some sort of other situation, but like the scenes where they are interacting with each other and having conversations are like the best acted parts of that movie and the most
pretty riveting. Yeah,
the most interesting parts, because like that's what makes that series to me interesting, is the back and forth and the discussions of, like I said before, like what's a human, who's human, how are these things acting human, and so on. Like I wish there was more of that, because that's what I find interesting about that Blade Runner in general.
Walter, what did you think about the scene where like he essentially like has sex with the hologram? Like that whole idea when that was happening, I was like, oh man, people are not going to go for this. Like this is that to me, I thought that was where the film could lose a lot of people. But I actually liked that scene.
I don't know. Yeah, I think that was definitely that's something that anyone with a pulse could be like, okay, this is interesting.
It's very interesting. Yeah, it's strange.
It reminded me of like a Ridley Scott like Alien thing, where it's like a body situation where you're like, okay, this is like I'm seeing something that like isn't, that I would never see like in real life, and it's like a body related thing, and you like feel weird while you're watching it. I kind of relate it to Prometheus, where she excavates like the baby out of her chest or something like that, where I was like, oh my god, what am I watching right now? But yeah, I thought the whole like stuff with the VR girlfriend was like pretty interesting. But, like
I found that stuff to be visually, like that sex scene is visually interesting. The premise of her is just like dumb to me. It's just like, here's like your VR girlfriend. Here's your VR girlfriend who will do anything for you. Let's try to pretend that she's unique. She's not. She's the VR girlfriend that everyone like.
He didn't have any knowledge.
That was the point, because
that's a bad point to make, that your woman is literally made to love you and.
No. I think that's why
it's a dumb idea.
Well, no, because during that sex scene, they're like, when they actually start having sex, the camera pans out of the window and goes up the street to where it has the like that advertisement hologram for that company, for like that machine.
Yeah.
And it's literally just displayed as like a standard, like it's almost gross. It's almost like displayed as like a strip club or like a sex shop or something like that, because it's showing. I forget what it says, but it says something about like like the girl of your dreams, or like something like alluding to the fact that like it's the girl that'll do whatever for you and she'll be your like own little pet or whatever, which is kind of weird. But they show that and focus on that when they're having sex, and it's kind of weird because it's sort of addressing the fact that it's strange and that it's not really like there's
I'm
no
not
like
sure
there's no
goes that far.
Well, they focus right on that when it's happening.
But I'm
like,
not sure the movie is making a point that like they put this. I don't think the point of that film was, or that scene was, look at this hologram woman, and now we're gonna go and look at this and go, yeah, actually, this is a bad way to portray this thing.
No, that's not what I guess I'm not describing it well enough. That's not what I mean. It's just like they address that. They address the fact that she's not real, and that this whole relationship that they have is a little strange, and basically showing that she's not special really to him, that she's just this, because I think we're led to believe that like that company just makes like that one woman for everyone, and it's just like different variations of her because she can transform and like you can probably change her voice or whatever it is, but like it's the same like AI. So it kind of just like caters to whoever it is. Like there's just something weird. I don't really know how to explain it.
I'm aware of that. I'm just saying that that concept to me is dumb.
I kind of liked that they addressed it indirectly, kind of by showing that. Like there was something that just kind of eerie about it. I don't know.
When like she stomps on it and like kills it at the end, it was supposed to be like, no, like she killed his girlfriend or whatever. But I felt nothing.
Yeah. Like that was a Chekhov's you're gonna die scene when she's like, if you lose me, like that's it, like don't lose me. It's like,
yeah,
you're gonna be dead in the next 30 minutes because Chekhov is here.
But then Chekhov is with us. But that was also really interesting when he says no, like what happens if, like what if something happens to you, or like you could get killed, and she's like, oh, just like a real girl.
Yeah, that's I thought that
like,
was an interesting
stuff like
piece
that
of
when
dialogue.
she says that, I'm like, oh yeah, like what's the difference here?
Yeah, and he's in way too deep. Why does he care so much about this VR girl?
Well, because I don't know. That's one of the questions about the movie.
Yeah,
because that's also the other part where it's like, what makes her human enough to him that he is able to like feel like love towards her.
Yeah, I think if they made a whole movie about that, that could be interesting. But it also
it's called Her.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a movie called Her that's basically that whole concept.
Have you guys seen that movie?
No.
It's a good movie.
Him. We need a him.
We need a him. Yeah, I'm actually offended that it wasn't a gay movie.
A gay relationship.
Yeah. And so for that reason I'll never watch that movie. No, I have seen that movie. It's good.
Yeah. So closing thoughts on that. I feel like if you're willing to put in the time and analyze it to absurdity and take your own artistic opinions away from it, you may find enjoyment. If you're looking for a passive or even somewhat active movie-going experience where you're wanting them to tell you a story and take you along on a ride, I wouldn't recommend. And I am more of a fan of the latter, so I didn't enjoy it as much as I hoped.
That's fair.
Yeah. All right.
We've already kind of given our pieces.
Yeah. I don't want you to say anything else.
I'll just reiterate my thoughts. No.
I thought you were really going to do it. All right. What do we got next?
Well, we have some video games to talk about for sure, which will probably take up the later little bit of this podcast, Rooney, but there is another movie that Coulter's on.
Yeah, so last night was Hallows Eve, and me and Crip decided to go to a film. What film do you see when it's Halloween? Not Jigsaw. Not the Snowman Killer.
Did Jigsaw come out?
Yes.
All right.
It had a disappointing opening weekend, I believe, as far as box office goes. I don't care about the movie.
I think the movie's a disappointment all around.
Boom!
Got him.
Yeah, so I saw that the what is it, Happy Death Day, had a 69%. Let's hear it, folks.
Nice.
Nice.
It's essentially 100.
Better than I thought it was going to get. Although,
yeah, it had a really good consensus.
Yeah, when I first saw the trailers, I was like, that looks dumb, but also it's very, very it's possible that it might pull that off in a really, like, so dumb that it actually turns out to be kind of good way.
Well, I got the feeling that it was self-aware.
Yeah. was like, oh,
like even while watching the trailer, I was like, oh, maybe they are aware of the fact that this looks generic.
The concept of doing the Groundhog's Day thing of coming back over and over again is interesting. And
with a horror movie, especially.
Not played out yet, so I was like, okay, it could do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And?
Did he do it?
So, yeah, that's an interesting dichotomy, the whole is it self-aware or not. That came up many times during the movie. So it was enjoyable. I'm going to say that. I enjoyed it more than I didn't. But yeah.
I won't ask the question that everyone wants to know.
I don't know what that is.
What, did you like it better than Blade Runner 2049?
I did.
Oh my god.
A bold take.
Ridley Scott is turning over in his grave. He's not even dead.
He's not even dead, man. Yeah, so it was an interesting movie. There were many silly things that happened where it was like, okay, they must know this is silly, but then you're not 100% sure that they're aware that this is silly. And there were many like cliches and stuff like that, but there was like some interesting tension and like some little twists and turns and stuff like that. There were no big like huge twists that you were like, oh my god. So what I really wanted from this movie was at the end for it to just go crazy with like the story just goes to a place that I wouldn't have possibly like asked for or understood. But it definitely doesn't do that. It's basically just a normal movie. Yeah, it's definitely like a popcorn movie, but I'm definitely the type of guy to enjoy something like that.
Was it scary?
Not really. Yeah, there's a part. So one, interestingly, there's a part. So you already know that with this Groundhog Day concept, there's going to be a sequence where she's like having fun with it, like doing silly stuff. There's a part where she's like trying to figure out who the killer is over the course of all of her days or whatever, and it plays like a pop song, like a hip hop or something like that. And then at the end of every day, she like gets killed. And it's like while that whole sequence is happening, the song is playing, and she gets killed while that song is playing. So it's like a Scooby-Doo scene where they're like chasing the main characters, and you're just like, wow, this is silly. Like they're not taking this seriously at all. And it happens so fast, like 30 minutes or less into the movie, like you're already having fun with this like concept. And so that was really weird.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting that they did that. There's a lot of like fun in this movie. I'm glad that they didn't just 100% serious like Lee take the whole movie.
I kind of got that tone from the trailers too, because they do show in the trailers like her coming back, and like one day she just like doesn't give a shit and just like running around and doing dumb things. It's like, okay, like if you get that part of it, then you could go somewhere interesting with that movie. I don't know from what you're saying if it really does go anywhere that interesting with it, but
yeah, pretty much with all your expectations, it goes kind of halfway there. Yeah, there's something else I was gonna say. I can't remember. But
is there like, does she have like a time limit of like actual deaths, or is she just in the position where she knows sooner or later I will figure this out, or is she just like,
that would be
one
cool.
day maybe I won't come back? Does that ever come into question?
Because you guys saw Edge of Tomorrow, right? Mm-hmm. So like in there, it's interesting because like as the alien, like as I remember, the alien were like their influence was spreading or whatever, and they were, if they didn't find out in time, the world was going to get destroyed. So that it put some pressure on them. It wasn't just like, because even in there they have the whole montage where he keeps getting killed repeatedly, and she's like, "Oh, you'll like get up, soldier," and like she was kind of like mocking him because he's like he's so weak and dumb. But yeah, there's something driving it forward where you're like, God damn, if they don't like get their act together, the world's gonna get fucked. Like, is there anything like that in here?
I wasn't really listening to what you're saying. No.
God damn it. Is there some sort of like pressure for her to, pretty much what Jordan was asking, like, is there any sort of pressure for her to figure out what's going on? Yeah,
there's a kind of throwaway thing where it's like, I'm getting weaker every time I come back. So
that's the thing then.
Okay. Because there had to be some sort of like downside to her being trapped in this perpetual loop of death.
Yeah, I don't think there really was in like Groundhog Day or anything like that. But
it was just him like hating doing it.
Yeah, he did it so many times that it was just like,
hated it. I
can't die, which is sad.
Yeah.
Like he's sad that he can't die.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that, but it doesn't even come into play like in the last third of the movie. Like she's completely fine. You can't even tell that
there's never a point where
is
like,
weaker.
I've died so many times, I can't kill this dude.
My life force.
No,
there's one discussion where she's like, oh man, like I don't have infinite tries or whatever. Like she doesn't say that exactly.
It's like my lives are about to run out.
Like I can't do this forever.
She says it in video game speak. She's like, I don't have infinite one-ups.
God damn it.
Truly relevant.
So
speaking of one-ups.
No. Yeah, so that movie was fun. Like it's fun to watch one of those movies once in a while because there are like funny things in there that you can make fun of with your friends and like lines that people say that are silly. Like, yeah,
like Halloweentown 2.
Yeah, I mean that was a cinematic masterpiece, but yeah. And another thing I liked about the movie was that it had the composer from Walking Dead named Bear McCreary. There was some pretty good music in there that helped ramp up the tension. There was one pretty tense scene that at first you're like, this is cliche, but then like the length it goes and like stuff like that made it really interesting, coupled with the music. Speaking of Walking Dead, I watched the first 2 episodes of The Walking Dead. Just for you fans out there, I know these guys don't really like it, but the first 2 episodes, it's pretty actiony.
Of what?
Walking Dead. What?
Just of like a new season?
Yeah. So the new season of Walking Dead is out.
I was like, you just rewatched. I've seen the first 2 episodes.
Oh no, my bad. Yeah. So the new season is out of Walking Dead. I watched the first 2 episodes. Those are the only ones that have come out so far. It's
still got zombies.
Still zombies, much less of a role. Yeah. So it's all out war at this point.
They are the Walking Dead, Jordan.
Man is the real monster.
Man is the real monster, dude. That's basically a joke at this point. Like,
that's like the
it's them
theme
or us.
Of every movie we've watched. Is man is really the true monster.
Which is like the only interesting thing.
Princess Mononoke, Apocalypse Now,
Blade Runner, literally every movie we've seen.
Let's not get away from the best show on television now. It was very actiony. The whole time I was watching it, I was very tense. Like I can't watch The Walking Dead at this point without being kind of tense. Like it's pretty interesting.
Is that because you're worried that your favorite characters are gonna die, or
kind of? That's definitely like obviously a thing at all times.
Is it because you're waiting for something to happen?
Yeah, it's because I'm no.
Was that a burn?
Absolutely.
It was an attempted burn. Yeah, so I liked it, or I liked them so far. They're doing this weird thing where they're not explaining their plan, they're just executing the plan, and there's a bunch of different groups that are doing stuff at the same time, and their objectives are not laid out at all in like expository dialogue. So you're just watching it and you're like, are they going to tell me what's happening here?
Did they like, this team do this team do this, let's go?
No, they never even said that. They're just doing it. They're in the act of doing it.
Huh. That's kind of
so they start it and it's like go time. Like they're taking out dudes.
Was there any hint in the previous season that something like this was going to happen?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's at the end of the last season, it was like all out war.
Oh, okay.
Let's go. It's like literally Negan says, guys, we're going to war. He has the dumbest dialogue. Like that's the one thing where I'm like, this is trash. He has terrible dialogue.
From the one episode I saw with him in it, that was what I came away with.
It was too over the top.
This dude is a comic book character.
No, I liked it in that episode. So at the end,
but when he says like fucking fucker,
no, that was like
it's a little much.
That's the unedited version.
I hate
we don't talk about that.
Swearing's bad. Don't.
But
swear.
there is at the end of the first episode of the 8th season, he says to someone at the end of the episode, this is kind of spoilers, but we're already talking spoilers, whatever. He says,
no one watches it anymore.
Yeah, that's fine. Most popular show on television. Goodbye. So he says to the person, he's like, are you wearing your shitting pants? And then the person is like, what? And then he says it again, are you wearing your shitting pants? And then he walks into the light because he was in the dark before, and then he's like, because you're about to shit your pants.
Wow.
That is so bad.
It's the worst.
Dude.
I'm back in on Walking Dead. I want to see it now just to have context for that.
I hate Negan's dialogue.
Was he wearing his shitting pants?
That's the cliffhanger. We don't know if he's going to poopy his pants.
You're going to have to tell us next week. So I'm dying to know.
I need to know the color of his pants.
There is a...
this guy
on the subreddit, anyways. On the subreddit, there's photo recaps of like each episode where people put just like funny captions into screenshots of the episode. And there was the one for that part was like it was that sentence like you're about to shit your pants or something like that, but they wrote the phrase, "Are you wearing your poopy panties because you're about to pinch a loaf?"
That's good.
And then each letter had like uppercase, lowercase, uppercase, lowercase, like badly written out, good. Just to mimic the infantilization of society.
That's a good meme.
Yeah,
that is good. That's high level memery.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm enjoying it so far.
Cool.
I'm happy for you.
I'm waiting with bated breath for each episode, and you can't stop me.
Does that show ever seem like it's going to end?
They said like the CEO of AMC, I think one time was quoted as saying like the show could go on forever.
That's insane.
Awesome.
Okay, so we don't need to turn this into a conversation about The Walking Dead. All I'm going to say is that the reason I stopped watching that show is because one, it just became so just not predictable. It was predictable in the sense that I knew that it was never going to go anywhere, for me at least. I'm sure they're still doing there's still twists and people getting killed off and crazy stuff happening and events that happen or like new groups that are introduced or something, but I just lost all interest in that show. That's when you say, is it ever going to end? That was my problem with it. There was no end goal.
Mm-hmm.
There was
now there is like an actual goal, so that's interesting again.
Yeah, because the first season, the whole time, and it's kind of predictable, but you're like, okay, they need to go to the CDC, like they're gonna figure this shit out. There's whoever's there is they're handling this and it's gonna be fine. And obviously, it's not, because it's a TV show and it's not a movie or whatever. So you just kind of predict by the beginning. You're like, well, they're gonna get there and something bad's gonna happen. But they at least had some sort of goal, and so each episode you're like, God damn, are they ever gonna get to the CDC? How are they gonna get there? How are they gonna get out of this situation? But then now it's there's just things happening, and there's no stakes. There's no nothing feels dire or it just doesn't.
I just completely disagree, but that's fine.
Why though? It just doesn't.
There's no stakes.
There's no stakes.
People die all the time.
That's it.
What do you mean?
They're
that's
dying.
it?
They're dying for nothing.
That's all they have. Is their life
They're
situation.
Dying for nothing though. They're not doing anything.
Sounds like Game of Thrones to me. Boom! I just angered so many people.
No, but for Walking Dead, there's literally not a point to anything that's happening in that show.
Okay, you're just making the most blanket statements.
I'm
we need
not.
to move
There's
past
no,
this.
No, there's no goal.
You said there isn't a point to anything that's happening in the show. How could you possibly back that up?
What's the goal of the show? What's the end goal?
To live. What is the point of anything in life?
No.
What is the goal in any show? What is the goal in Seinfeld?
Okay, the whole point of that show is that there is no goal.
Okay, well that might be a bad example.
And it's funny. That is a bad example. But you mentioned Game of Thrones. There's a very clear goal in Game of Thrones. There has been since the very first episode, to claim the Iron Throne.
Yeah, that's a canned thing.
It is, but there's way more that happens around it that I can't spoil because you haven't seen the show.
Is that any more vague than saying we need to find the cure or we need to survive? It's just another objective.
It is. It's just
around,
it's just an end. It's just something to feel the storyline. But in Walking Dead, they've lost sight of any end goal or any interesting character arc for the people. They've already gone over the thing where it's and they haven't explicitly said it like they had in the comic. By this point, I think they had already said it. I think it was at the prison. In the comic, they're like, oh no, we are the Walking Dead. And Rick does this huge speech where he says the zombies don't really matter. It's the people and the humans that we need to be afraid of and everything, which they've explored with Negan being evil and the governor being evil and people are cannibals and all this crazy stuff. They've already gone over the part where the apocalyptic trope is
humans are the real monster.
Exactly, man is the real monster. You're not going to be afraid of the irradiated zombies. You're going to be afraid of the people because the people are the ones who do the most damage.
Yeah, so there's a villain of the week type of deal.
And
that's what it is.
I get that, but why am I supposed to care about anything that's happening to the people if they're dying for nothing? They're not all they're doing is we have to survive, and I get that. They obviously aren't going to kill themselves. That would be stupid, but they're not working towards anything. Like,
they're working towards a better life, dude.
It's not gonna happen.
I mean, it's already happened to some degree. They live in Alexandria. I mean, it's impossible to talk about it when you haven't watched, like, the later seasons of the show. Like,
I mean, I feel like I watched right up until, like, yeah, right before Negan was introduced. I stopped, like, right before he was introduced. And it sounds like he's not that great.
Yeah, I mean, you're all over the place with your arguments, so I think we can move past this.
My argument is that there's no point.
My argument is
that there is.
And Game of Thrones
the
are
point
equally good.
The point is stupid.
Sure. You could have said that in 1 second instead of taking up 13 minutes to outline a
preposterous
tirade.
argument.
Yeah.
It's a valid argument.
You could have just said you didn't like it.
No, I think, like, objectively, the point is stupid.
All right, you have it out against this show for us, like,
because it's just bad. It's
nebulous
just, like,
reasons.
It's just like it's the Big Bang Theory of.
All right, let's move on.
It's the Big Bang Theory of non-comedy TV.
It's very popular.
Of drama TV.
It's very popular, and a lot of people watch it.
And it's poorly constructed.
Huh.
It's poorly optimized.
It's not an optimized viewing experience.
The first season is and always will be the best.
I don't know why you need to say that it's bad.
Because I think it's bad.
Yeah. But you can't just stand here and have people say that it's good without saying something.
Oh, no. I gotta say something.
You just must do that.
I have to say something.
I don't know why. What's the point? There's no point in you doing that.
because it makes me angry.
We've at least shifted the argument from the show has no point to the show is dumb, or the point of the show is stupid.
Well, I still argue that it has almost no point. But if you need to find a point in the show, I think that the supposed point is dumb.
Fair enough.
We can leave it at that.
Walking Dead still continues to be a very watched show on TV.
So is Real Housewives, but
which you like?
I do.
All right,
it's a better show than Walking Dead. The Real Housewives are The Walking Dead.
All right. I honestly don't feel like we have enough time to discuss all that we want to discuss in the video game section, but
we'll make it brief.
I suppose.
I think we can do it.
We literally have like 15 minutes to discuss each thing. All right,
let's go.
All right.
Hustle.
Well, the main one for all of us to talk about is probably Mario.
Sure.
Super Mario Odyssey.
The Walking Dead mobile game.
Super Mario Odyssey! That was my Mario.
Great.
What do you guys think?
It's a fun, joyous game that I didn't expect
But there's
to
no
like
point.
as much. Did not expect to like it as much as I do. Granted, I haven't played a whole time. I played a decent amount of it, but
I haven't played very much of it.
I have, I think, like 120 plus moons at this point.
I believe I have about 120.
So, but yeah.
But I'm not as far as you.
That game is creative. The level design is impeccable in a way I think Nintendo excels at.
Only Nintendo, some might say.
Yeah. It also looks incredible. For a Switch game to look as nice as it does, to run as nice as it does. This is coming off the same system that The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is on. Playing Breath of the Wild on my TV, like, in the docked mode, it looks like crap. Like, it looks completely jagged. Everything's blown out, like, horribly. I'm just like, I don't want to look at this anymore.
Undocked?
On the TV.
Oh, yeah.
Like, running at 1080p,
yeah.
It doesn't look great coming off of, like, a 4K screen. It doesn't look good in that way at all. But Mario, like, looks perfect. It looks incredible at this point, which is, like, astounding to me that it's running on a Switch, which is, like, tablet-level hardware inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks very good. I will say.
It does look incredible. I haven't played it on my TV yet, though. I've only played it on the handheld. I really only play my Switch in bed.
Have almost never played my Switch in handheld.
That's like the only way I play it.
I hate it.
Yeah, I was saying that I would be interested to see a breakdown of the stats of how often it's played docked or undocked.
I couldn't possibly imagine playing Super Mario Odyssey in the handheld version with all the dumb motion control stuff you have to do.
That part is frustrating, though.
That's a very big problem for
like,
me. There's some things that you can't do without the motion
I'm playing with a
controls.
Pro controller, and I fucking hate, like, every time I have to shake the controller, whip it out, and I was like, stop.
It's weird because you're holding it, like,
yeah, it's
doing
really dumb. And also,
shit.
it only uses half the buttons on the controller. Like, the jump button is duplicated on A and B.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, that's classic Mario.
That is classic Mario.
But why? That's
true.
That's not a thing. That's not a good excuse. Like, you have extra buttons on there. Why did you duplicate them?
Because some people are playing on a fun-sized candy bar.
You still have all controllers on there, or all buttons on there.
But what would you use the other buttons for?
The spin throw, the dash, the dive, the roll. There's like 50 different abilities that you have to do by doing motion controls. Just use it on the buttons. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it has they're not awful and like they're not necessary all the time, but a lot of those moves are super useful, and it's a pain having to use like the fling my controller out and do all this stuff. It's just dumb, especially when it has buttons that do the same thing twice on there.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
I made a list of dissatisfying maneuvers in this game.
What?
So you can't immediately talk to someone when you walk up to them. You have to wait for the little thing to appear above their head. When you walk up to someone, you'll just jump.
I do that a lot, where I run towards someone and then jump immediately over them. Like, God damn it!
But I think that's why they have
with every prompt in the game, not just talking.
But I think that's why they have that grace period, because they have buttons that for like interacting with people and for jumping is the same button. So they probably don't want you to come up and like. They probably don't want that to happen. That's probably they probably don't want you to try to jump or do something and have it activate dialogue.
Yeah. Which is, they could just make it so that you have to be closer to them to actually activate that.
Or they could just make it so the prompt appears instantly. When you press A in a radius, it just talks and doesn't jump you over someone. It like takes a long time for the prompt like to load into like. You can see like the 3 dots over their head, and when you run up to them, it doesn't immediately turn to press A to talk. You have to stop, wait, come to a standstill, and then like talk to them. And like, that process is kind of annoying, but
yeah. In any case, it's dissatisfying. They could have found a way to do it better. You can't pick up an acorn immediately. There are parts where you have to like pick up an acorn. I don't think there's like many other objects that you literally have to pick up.
Yeah, no, not that I've seen yet, at least.
And the thing is that you'll hit it with your hat and hit it farther away, and there are some situations where an acorn is literally on the edge of the map, and I hit it off the map.
Yeah,
and again, I had to reset like the whole map.
You have to
get it back.
Stop and do it, which is just like
it's you have to stop, wait for the prompt.
It's fine, but also when you're wanting to do these things really quickly and like get to the shine and all this stuff, like it's just another minor annoyance of just being like, well, gotta run, stop, pick this up, and like I just want to run, pick it up, and just go. You know, just make it fast, snappy, cappy.
Yeah, and the last one I wrote down was. I might be wrong about this, but in my trials, I couldn't ground pound a warp pipe and go into it. You literally have to stand on top of it. Really?
You can do that, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was unsure of that one, but I tried it a couple times and it didn't work.
I am positive I've seen myself do that at some point. It is finicky. I've definitely seen times where I've tried to do it and hit like the corner where it looked like the area that you can go through the pipe in looks big, but it's really the very middle of it. And so you have to be in that same spot. But I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
So that is a classic Mario maneuver.
It's true. But yeah, that game is just a lot of fun. Just super, like, the music in it is fantastic. Have you been to the Wooded Kingdom?
Yeah, so the music in that part is pretty cool.
That music is so lit. It's like this surfer, like jazz. I love that music. That was my favorite song so far. Although I've heard there's a very good one in a climactic battle coming up, I think, but haven't got into it yet.
Definitely one of my favorite things about the Mario games is the music. And in 3D World, the music was some of the best music like I've ever heard in a game. And I'm going to transition that into, I think I might like Mario 3D World better than Mario Odyssey of what I've played so far, which is a bold take.
Yeah, I have
Coulter's bold take.
Probably an unpopular opinion.
This Mario Odyssey is like one of the highest rated games out this year in a long time, and one of the probably best rated Mario games. But
it's also one of the best rated video games of all time.
Yeah,
top 5, I believe.
But the last Mario game I played, I think, was Galaxy, and I did not play very much of that. And so this is like the first time I played a Mario game in probably 7 years, maybe, and I have just like it's just been very fun.
Yeah, I think part of the reason I liked Mario 3D World better is because that was the first Mario game I played in a while, because I didn't play Mario Galaxy 2, and I played very little of Mario Galaxy 1. Yeah. So I think whenever you come back to like Mario and it's new and like rejuvenated and it looks all shiny and everything, you're going to like it.
I just like how quick everything is in that game too. It's just like your goal is to collect the shines, and some of them are as simple as I'm just going to run around this corner and do a ground pound on the ground. And other ones are I need to do this very not complicated yet, but I have seen complicated like puzzles and jumps and stuff later in the game, and some to a varying degree that I've seen so far of just like this shine might take you 15 minutes to do, and this one might take 30 seconds, and like there's just a bunch of weird like silly side things that don't feel like side things. They're just part of the game when you do them, and like everything in that game just feels like it's there for a reason.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I've played a little bit into like the Sand Kingdom, whatever it's called. I got my little poncho, my little sombrero, and it's just so cute and charming. Yeah. Like when you're playing that, you're just like Mario. Like what in the menus when you pause, Mario will like be sitting there and he's like looking around at the menu options, and like little Cappy is like floating above his head, and his hair is like Pixar hair, and it looks like so cool, and like every scene in that game and every like maneuver and everything you do is like so polished and fluid and beautiful that you're just every time you do anything in that game, like menu, running, jumping, attacking, you're just like it just feels so good. Yeah, like it's just so good. But what I was gonna say is I feel like as I was collecting, because I stayed on, I don't remember what the kingdom was called, but the one with the T-Rex. I was telling Coulter I stayed there for a while, just trying to find a bunch of moons. I don't even think I found that many, but as I was doing it, it sort of felt like Zelda in the way that as you're doing things, you're like, was I supposed to do it that way? Or like, was I... Like, it almost feels like you're discovering everything on your own, and you feel like it's really like fresh and new, and like you discovered something that's so crazy that no one else could possibly find it.
Yeah.
But that's just the way that they designed the game. Yeah. And they just want you to like, you consistently feel that way as you play, and I don't think it's possible it's very hard for a game to feel original nowadays. It's also hard for you to really feel like that connected to like just the gameplay mechanics, because it's not really the story that's driving you through this. It's like it never is
just fun
in Mario. It's just really fun. Yeah. And like there's something special about it.
This does more for me than Zelda does in the regard where the idea and what I've heard a lot of praise about Zelda is that thing of just like, I can go to this place and I can find my own way to do it and do this and this. And like, I have like fallen hard off of Zelda. Like I haven't played it in a very long time, except quick tangent. I downloaded a Wii U emulator on my computer and played it on there. And that was an interesting experience. It doesn't run perfectly well, but it does the job. So that is kind of fun to play it on like high resolution and like sharp graphics and stuff. It's kind of neat. But anyways, like I don't get that same experience in Zelda because I honestly just get bored playing Zelda a lot, where I'm running around these huge areas and I see this thing, I'm like, that's really cool. I don't want to spend 20 minutes going there to grab it. I want to just go there and do the fun thing and see these cool sights, but there's no carrot on the stick to tell me to go over there. I have to do it myself, and that I get bored very, very quickly doing that. And because there's a lot of empty space in that game. Whereas in Mario, there is no wasted space. You might see something like, what's this island doing way out there? Is that just a rock? I guarantee you'll go to that rock and there's either going to be like special coins, there's going to be a shine. Like there's something out there that rewards you for doing what you're doing. And that happens every single time. Like you turn a corner, there's a shine there. Like you turn a corner, there's hidden coins there. It's just like, it constantly is giving you stuff. Like every single time I play the game, it's like, wow, I'm doing something. I'm getting stuff for this. And like, it's just fun. Like you just keep getting stuff. I feel like the moons
are not as valuable as like the little purple currency, in my opinion.
Yeah, like, and again, but what some of those moons,
what are the purple coins?
You can buy. That's how you buy stuff
with
like
them.
The unique.
And there's also just much less of them.
I think that's how I actually. Yeah, no, I think I bought my poncho with that.
Yeah,
because it's like a lot of coins, like a lot of regular coins, or it's like a few purple coins because they're harder to find.
It's separated to like.
It's like different currency.
Yeah, you can buy like the world specific stuff with the purple coins, and like regular stuff with the regular yellow ones.
Oh, I see.
I love the fact that
because the coins are different for each. The purple coins are different for each. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I just had a ton of fun, like just doing dumb things in that game. Like you feel like you're breaking the game a lot of times by doing like these dumb jumps, and then you just happen to find like a shine or something. And
that's what I mean. Like as you're playing the game, it has that like. I don't know if I have this opinion of Mario 64 because I played it after it released, but when I was playing that game, it feels. Because I think I played Mario 64 on the DS when the DS came out.
Absolutely the worst way to play that game.
I will agree with that, but that was a launch game for the DS. I was like, I mean, obviously, like
the original way to play that was
you're gonna play Mario. you're gonna get a DS, you're gonna play Mario. So I played that, and I've played it on the N64 since for a little bit, but when you're playing that game, it has sort of like that raw feeling where as you're doing things, it kind of just feels like a video game. Like it feels like the epitome of a video game. It's very tight, and this more so obviously, but with Mario 64, there's something cool about like feeling like you're driving the game with things that you're doing or like ways that you're discovering how to play the game when it was really just their intention all along for you to do that. Yeah. Which I think just shows Nintendo's like expert craftsmanship for like just this kind of experience. Like no, I don't think any other developer can or will ever match Nintendo's like. It seems almost effortless at this point. But you know so much effort went into making this game.
Like, when they come out big, they almost always hit the mark. And, like, not all their games that do very well are for me, but, like, this game, I did not expect to, like it that much. I was like, okay. And, like, a lot of people love Mario. It's getting, like, really high praise, but also a lot of these people that are reviewing games are people who have heavy nostalgia for Nintendo.
Right.
So I take that with a grain of salt, and I start playing the game, and just immediately I was like, wow, this is, like, I'm having a lot of fun with this game, and I will certainly, like, play it till completion, get a ton of the shines and stuff. Like,
yeah.
It's been really fun for me.
Yeah, I think that, I think people think that it's way more of an improvement than it actually is. I don't think it's that much more crazy, like, the level design or, like, the satisfaction of like doing puzzles or even the intricacy of the puzzles themselves or anything like that. I don't think any of that is that much improved from Mario 3D World. There's obvious like mechanics that are different, like the currency system and the open world, system and stuff like that. Those things are obviously cool, but it all comes down to the core mechanics, which haven't changed since a long time.
Yeah.
So,
and I feel like I almost, before this game came out, before I played it, expected this to be, like, the Breath of the Wild version of Mario. And it's not that. It's just it's, like, the pinnacle achievement of Mario. It's, like, the perfect creation of a Mario game. It's still that Mario 64, still Mario Sunshine, Mario Galaxy-esque of you're doing these levels and stuff, but it's just in a way that is, for me, fresh, because I haven't played one of these games in a very long time, and it stands the test of time.
I feel like a reason a lot of people think it's so much better and love it so much is because they didn't play the Wii U, and they haven't played it in a while. I don't know.
I don't think you can tell me that Mario 3D Land is the same type of game as this, because it's
Mario
really
3D
not.
World
Land, whatever.
It's not the same, but it's not much worse than this. Is my point.
So I played 3D World co-op with you. A lot of
co-op is garbage.
Is it?
Yeah, there's two people on screen, and like you share the like movement of the screen, and it's like, I think it's bad.
Okay, well, I mean that's how I played it. So maybe I just had a bad impression of it. I'm not saying I don't like that game, because I do like that game, and the music is awesome, but that game didn't really excite me in the same way that this one does, because it just felt like another Mario game. And I've played a lot. I didn't play Mario Galaxy 2, but I played all of Mario Galaxy 1. Which I really liked. And I would occasionally play some of like the re-released like new Super Mario Bros. Or whatever on the DS, which those kind of got stale for me. I didn't really care about it too much. I do love Super Mario Sunshine. So, and from what I played of N64 or Mario 64, I really enjoy it. But the thing about Odyssey, and I haven't even played it that much, so I'm sure like I'm just at the tip of the iceberg, but it just feels so weird. Like it feels in a way almost very non-Nintendo in the sense that and I can't even say exactly why, like, obviously New Donk City is strange and, like, doesn't make any sense. But even when you're playing this game and, like, Mario's wearing different outfits and, like, it just seems like Nintendo is, like, unhinged in a way. Like, it almost feels like they just looked at Mario and they're like, okay, we've had Mario, like, do, like, actual plumbing stuff and, like, go on vacation in Mario Sunshine. Like, we've had him go to space and we've had him like play tennis and basketball, and they've thought about all these things they've done with Mario, and then like, well, what if we just went like fucking just crazy, like in whatever way we want, and then give it that Nintendo polish and charm. And so now Mario is like in a flying airship, and he's going to different completely different realms.
The whole premise of the game is just bizarre, and the things he does is just insane. I also like the act of like throwing your hat and capturing the enemies or whatever, like being a Goomba or being whatever weird thing they do. Like, a lot of the times it feels like, oh, this is just a one, like, trick thing I can use to get the shine. But, like, I was in the Wooded Kingdom, and there's a enemy there that, like, you grab it, and you can extend yourself, like, super high into the air. And then the annoying part is you have to shake the controller to get yourself a little bit higher. But, like, I was in that. I was like, okay, I'll use that to get through this area. And then I was like, what if I stay in this a little bit longer? And as I did that, I got through the entire level just in that character form, just, like, doing weird jumps and, like, finding weird ways around places. And just, like, it felt like I was cheating the game, but
it was
clearly it's allowed to you for you to do that in that way if you want to, or you can do it not in that way if you want. You can do it as a regular Mario or whatever, as a regular another enemy.
And that's what feels so weird, like,
it's just weird and cool.
That in particular, but yeah, the whole concept of obviously, like, the setup of the game, like going to different worlds and doing all this, like, batshit crazy stuff is weird. But then also, like, as I was watching, and I didn't watch a lot of trailers for this game, but I would, like, catch up on people's gameplay impressions and things like that over time. And every time I heard something about the game, I'm like, that sounds so fucking weird, like, so strange and out of the blue for Nintendo, for just, like, games in general. I feel like nowadays it's very hard to, especially for people like us, like, it's very hard to make anything feel legitimately fresh or anything, like, you know, work your brain a little bit or make you kind of, like, think about games in a different way, because there's so many games coming out just being churned out by whoever it is, that when Nintendo, like, sits back for a while and they're like, okay, we got this, like, like check out what we can do when they bring out Mario or Zelda or maybe, like, the new Metroid game or whatever they do, like, when they bring it out and really go for it, like, nothing compares.
Like, as opposed to, like, when I can just, like, sit down and play this game, kind of turn my brain off and just enjoy just having fun in a different way, where I'm playing, like, Shadow of War, which I uninstalled that game a week after I bought it. I was like, I'm never playing this again because I despise this game at this point in time. But as I was playing that game, it's like, okay, I'll just try to shut my brain off a little bit and just have fun, you know, just enslaving these orcs and killing them and doing this stuff. And at a point I was like, I'm having no fun turning my brain off in this game, but I can do that with Mario and just be like, yeah, I don't care what's happening. I can just, you know, I'm just having fun while playing this game, as opposed to, like, a game of Shadow of War where it's similar and where I need to turn my brain off, but it just doesn't feel any, like, there's no fun for me at all in that game. And it's nice to just be able to do that with this. So
I feel it.
It's my piece. Don't play Shadow of War.
We have a little bit of time to talk about either Assassin's Creed or Wolfenstein.
I'd like to talk about Wolfenstein 2.
Wolfenstein 2, okay. What do you have to say about it, Jordan?
Play Wolfenstein 2. I've beaten that game. It's a fucking amazing narratively, it's amazing. I have the same problems as I do in the last game, which I don't think it's that fun to shoot and play it. There's a lot of minor, like, gripes and annoyances where at the start of that game, I can't remember what difficulty I chose. It was like, oh, here's one for experienced shooter players. I was like, fuck yeah, that's me. I played shooters before. I can play this game. And, like, I was just getting my ass kicked a lot at the start. I was like, what is happening? And the thing that happens is that game just doesn't indicate that you're being, like, hit very much or well at all. Like, you don't have...
I've noticed that.
You don't have regenerating health. You have a health bar, which is another, like... As opposed to a game like Doom, where you also don't have regenerating health, but you have, you know, your health, like, number or whatever you need to pick up health kits. But the smart thing that Doom does is that it gives you those health kits automatically, and it vacuums them towards you. Whereas in Wolfenstein, you barely can tell you're getting shot. You can't tell you're taking a heavy ton of, like, a lot of damage at once. And your screen doesn't go red when you have critical health. Like, the only thing that changes is this tiny number at the bottom of the screen. And multiple times, it's just like, I didn't even realize I was getting shot. Like, I could not tell I was taking damage. And you don't heal in this game by waiting or doing this thing.
Okay, so it's not me being bad.
No, the game is just unfairly punishing, like, in a lot of ways. And you have to run and pick up health kits and stuff, and, like...
And you have to press a button.
That is literally, like, my brain broke while playing that game when I was doing a very, like, hard fight at the end. That is just... It's just punishing. Like, the checkpoint is punishing as hell. And... to restore my health after just getting pounded, I just run in circles, mash on the E button multiple times, just like, please find a health kit and pick it up, because you can run over health kits, but only if they're on the ground and only if you run, like, directly over them. It's the most, like, tight fit to pick up a health kit. It was just so frustrating doing that. I'm like, I burned through it because that game, like, goes places and says things that I think are, like, a fascinating look, especially, like, in today's times, that no game I've played in the last, like, year or a couple years has ever, like, I'm trying to think of a game or like a movie or something that tries to like say like very relevant things in this day and age and completely falls flat, or like it feels like very forced. Kind of like LS2 is an example for me where it was like, okay, we get your religious like thing here. We get your like people are these like religious people are very bad and stuff. And it's like, I get it. Like I fucking get it. But in Wolfenstein 2, it
literally religious people are evil. No.
Yeah, that was their point. It's like that's first of all, that's a bad way of thinking. But
in
like,
LS2?
Yeah. And like Wolfenstein 2, obviously you're fighting Nazis, but it does an excellent job of showing like a real look at the United States too. Like it's like in a normal game it would be like, okay, here's the United States, like they got taken over by Nazis, like everyone in America get ready to fight back. In this game it's like, no, actually the KKK helped America take over like the South, and now they're like still living freely, and like we got fucked because we're bad people. Like it takes a really real look at things that are happening. I think it's really fascinating. So
does it answer the age-old question, is it okay to torture Nazis?
Let me tell you right now, I guarantee you someone who listened to the Inglourious Bastards podcast like, why do you think killing Nazis in this game is fun? It's because BJ is actually a human in this, and there's a very specific point in that game where he's like about to kill a bunch of Nazis by setting off a nuke or something. He's gonna kill like a base. He's gonna blow up a base or something like that.
He's gonna blow up a baby.
Yeah, a base, and he steps outside, puts his gun behind the back of a Nazi, and like he's like, drop your gun, give me the keys to this vehicle. In Inglourious Bastards, that dude would have been scalped. In this game, he's like, go ahead and run. It's like he got this man, he disarmed him, he didn't torture this dude and kill him from behind like a murderer. Like, you know, he does it, says, get out. Like I took my advantage over you. I got what I needed. I'm not gonna kill you. Just go. And like, granted, he's probably gonna die from the bomb, but he didn't just shoot him in the head after getting what he wanted, which happens in Inglourious Bastards, that's the upsetting part to me. And also, he doesn't torture people in this, so he does kill them, but he doesn't torture them, which is key in my argument here. Don't torture people. You can kill whoever you want. Don't do that. Just don't torture.
You can kill whoever you want. That's the key of any argument.
True. I'm like, fuck Nazis, but don't torture people, please.
The Nazis are pretty bad people in this game.
They are, and it does an excellent job of doing that, which also I don't know if Inglourious Bastards does that that well either.
Yeah.
It kind of carries itself on their Nazis, but
yeah, the
game has like a bunch of twists and turns that are just fascinating to see.
So where am I in the game? Haven't had as much time to play it as I would have liked, but I am getting through Manhattan right now. Mm-hmm. So somewhat early, but I've seen things. I am basically just past meeting the resistance group.
Yeah.
And brought them back to my base, and now I'm like doing the mission right after that, which I haven't started yet, but I have like the start level prompt or whatever. Yeah, I mean, I think this was probably my most anticipated game of the year. I loved the first one. I've played it a couple times. I think I played it at least twice, to see both paths, which are essentially the same exact thing. Yeah. But I did it just because I liked the game. And I like a lot of the same things, and I like a lot of things they do differently. I think the game feels a little bit tighter to play this time around, even though the gun play doesn't feel as good as Doom. I like the melee combat. I think the melee executions are cool.
I think they look good, but I struggle to enjoy shooting and fighting in that game, especially like the melee combat. If you're in an encounter, and this is like something that I had to break myself away from Doom, where in Doom you're moving, you're constantly strafing and like getting close to do these melee kills. In Wolfenstein, if you're in an encounter and you do a melee kill, you're fucked.
And you still get shot.
You take damage while you're doing the kill, and you don't regenerate health. You don't get health after you kill the guy. You're just stuck in this canned animation, and you just get destroyed. And again, when you can't tell you're being shot, that's very frustrating. When multiple times you're just like, I'm gonna axe this dude. Someone shot me. I guess I'm dead. I don't know. That happened too much for me there's just something about the combat in that game that I don't find fun, but the actual storyline, the writing is just great in that game.
The gameplay is definitely not. It's good. I really like fighting the dudes that burst towards you with the jetpacks that rocket towards you across the ground. There's a lot of things in there where they force you to kind of you feel very underpowered a lot of times. You feel oh shit, there's two of these guys coming through here, I have to run behind this pillar, and then they burst through the pillar, or you always kind of feel like you're up against impossible odds, which I like. But then I think, the main thing I like about the game is the narrative. Like, just like the first one, I really like BJ's character. I think it's definitely better in this one. Yeah, but
I didn't care for him at all in the first game. This one, I was like, this guy, they turned a nameless face character who they tried to do in the first one and did for a lot of people. But to me, like, I felt like his lines in the first one were really forced, and he wasn't that interesting in this. They make a case for him in this that's way more interesting than anything I've seen from him.
Yeah, and I think that goes a long way in just selling the narrative, because the cutscenes in this game are like, so good.
They're really good. They're like fucked up in a lot of ways, crazy ways.
They're shot well.
Like
it looks like and then, which is weird to say, but it's like, I find myself looking at it being like, God damn, I'm watching like a movie right now. Yeah. Like, I almost look forward more to every time I'm about to enter a cutscene. It's not like I feel pulled out of the game and I put my controller down and I'm like, oh, I'll just like eat my dinner.
And they have
and,
like a
watch
great soundtrack, which I think is done by the same guy who did Doom.
It is.
Which is like very clear when you start playing. You hear like the guitars kick in as you're fighting, and it is good.
And there's also like it's sort of like in Doom where as you're playing and you do actions, it reacts to it, because in this one there's like always like a dull like thumping kind of like undertone, like in like background track, but then when you get into combat it starts like amplifying things that you're doing, and like gunshots and headshots and stuff.
Like, this game, I won't spoil it because you're coming up on some very like ridiculous shit, but this game has like, there were times where it's like, holy fuck, like, you guys did not do this like in this game. Like, this is just absurdity at its highest level. And just like I can't remember the last time I played a shooter where I was like, I don't give a fuck about shooting these people. I just want to see what happens in the story, because it's so interesting.
Every time the cutscenes happen, I'm just like, okay, well, I'm in for a treat.
And multiple times I would go, like, there's like a stealth. You can kind of do stealth in that game, but every time I did, I was like, why am I doing this? I just need to go in guns blazing and like cut through these people, cut through these Nazis, and get to the end so I can see what's happening next, because the story is like so like cool in this one.
Yeah.
Like, it seriously like it goes places, like crazy places, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited to play more. I think that the first one was applauded by a lot of people, but I also think it was a little underrated. I think a lot of people pushed it off as being another shooter, sort of like a lot of people probably didn't play Doom because they probably just thought like, oh, it's just killing aliens, it's just killing demons and shit. Like, I'm sure it's fun, but why would I play that? Like, I feel like a lot of people will probably skip out on this for the same reason, maybe because they have shooter fatigue, or they just don't play shooters normally, which I feel is unfortunate, because a lot of people are going to miss out on something that I feel is pretty special. Yeah. Like, the whole like lore, how you can, just like the first one, you can pick up records of songs that were actually like, they're like recorded and well-produced music in the game by a fake record label of popular like radio hits from the 60s and 70s or whatever it is, as if they were produced by Nazis.
Yeah.
So like, they have in the first game, they had like House of the Rising Sun, but it's talking about like a house in like old Berlin, and they have like in this one I found one that was supposed to be like the Grateful Dead, but it was talking about like it was supposed to be like a hippie song, but they were talking about like Nazis doing all that stuff, and you're kind of listening to it and you're like, this is fucked up. Like, is this... It's almost as if this is actually what it would have sounded like if the Nazis won World War II, which is so weird that they put so much effort into that. And then also there's like newspaper clippings talking about like all the lore in the game. I find myself actually reading through and really interesting, because it all seems plausible in a weird, like, not plausible way. It shouldn't feel real, but it kind of does. And there's something cool about it.
What would the Smash Mouth song All Star be about if the Nazis won World War II?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't do some... Well, obviously, it was not in the 2000s, but, like, some of the songs that they record...
You're the Führer.
I will say...
Get your Holocaust on.
For the most part, the soundtrack is absolutely fantastic. The end credit song is abysmal. I don't want to spoil it, because I was just listening. I was like, you guys fucked this one up pretty bad. Yeah. Like, this is not a good song.
The actual, like, score to the game, though.
The score is good, and just, like, the actual songs, like, they do... the song they play at the end credits is like, yo, what did you guys do with this? This is bad. Stop. Yeah. But the actual credit sequence looks cool. There's a lot of like cool imagery in it. So
the style of this game is so cool. And I also like, I feel like they didn't do it as well in the first one, but all of the narration in BJ's head as you're playing is like so perfectly done. Like it's very somber and like
some of that is like really like cheesy to me because he is saying it in such a monotone voice. And that was one of my problems with the first game is that like I people like were saying that like he was becoming a character. And I was like, he's just saying some like real like he just does not sound like he's there when he's saying this stuff. Like they build him up better in this game, which is why I feel like the stuff he says is more believable in this. But still, a lot of times he's like, it's like, all right, BJ.
It is very pulpy, and it's very like
it's super cheesy sometimes.
It is cheesy, but there's something kind of like endearing about it. Like I just kind of find myself thinking like BJ is a cool guy, like he's a good guy, even though he's like in some ways he kind of like steers into the like meathead shooter bro character trope. They do a lot of things like in the narrative to humanize him, I think.
I will say in this game, they do an excellent job of making someone who looks like he might as well be Duke Nukem. And they do interesting things gameplay-wise and story-wise to show you that, like, no, he's not just a face. Like, this is a character who has, like, thoughts and motivations. And they do an excellent job, I think, of, like, writing that into him. Because he, like, the writing in this game is really good. The story is really good.
I'm excited to play more of it.
So... And yeah, again, there's just some shit that happens in that game that's just like, what the fuck? Like, this is crazy. And it's really cool.
I'm excited. So far, I've been loving it. It's lived up to my expectations, which were very high.
All right. Coulter, we're running low on time here.
Yeah.
We tried to keep that a little short. That wasn't that long. Have you been playing anything besides Mario?
Yeah, but I'm not really going to talk about it.
Okay. We still need to talk about Assassin's Creed. Because I think there's... Well, not this episode, but at some point.
Very briefly, then, I have played a decent amount of Assassin's Creed. It's good. It's a good Assassin's Creed game. I was slightly worried about this when it was coming out. The trailers didn't make it appear to be anything better or worse than Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which is the last one, which was okay, but I got bored of it pretty quickly. This one... They've changed enough of the, like, it's basically an open world game, very akin to The Witcher in the way that the quests are set up, and, like, you're just wandering around the world looking at, like, question marks, which is straight up just taken from The Witcher, and, like, the combat has been changed in a way that is, like, simplistic, but also a little bit more active and fun, and I haven't done any, the only thing I'm worried about so far is that I haven't done any real, like, the assassinations in the other games, especially in Syndicate, were like these very elaborate missions that you could do with like different things to do. I haven't come across anything like that yet. I would be disappointed if that doesn't show up because those like the ways you can assassinate your target and do different like sneak in and like in Syndicate it was like you could like lay in a hospital bed and pretend to be a dead body.
Yeah, those were
comes
cool.
out and like that's really cool. I haven't seen any of that yet. I haven't seen a real target yet. I think I'm getting close, but other than that, it's good so far.
It's weird. It reminds me of The Witcher a lot. It also reminds me a lot of Metal Gear Solid 5.
Sure.
Which is not something I'd ever expect to say about Assassin's Creed or maybe any other game. But it's so cool, like being able to change the time of day and like it feels a little more like, open world in the sense that like if you can think it, you can probably do it, and to a certain extent, not as much as Metal Gear, but I just like how you can unlock perks that'll show you like the path that someone is walking, or you can see like. If you attack this certain base at night, like maybe you're a target. Like I've had multiple times where the target I was supposed to be killing, like the commander or whatever, who's like a super big macho tough guy, like 2 levels above me or whatever, is like sleeping in a bed. And so I can just like sneak past everyone and like jump into his like little house or whatever and just kill him and sneak out. And that kind of stuff is awesome because you can think like, going in there during the day is like a fucking awful idea because there's like 50 people guarding this guy, but maybe I just wait for him to sleep and I'll go and kill him. And that's the kind of stuff that you would always think about in Assassin's Creed before, but it was like, oh, they don't go to sleep, they don't eat.
Everything was much more scripted. It was like if you're going in at night sleeping, it's because the level is at night and they're sleeping.
Exactly, but now you can kind of like there's just something cool about being able to approach the levels with a little more freedom than other Assassin's Creed games. And then also if you're playing on PC, the game looks really good. It
looks fantastic.
The game actually
seriously like one of the most beautiful games I've played this year. Like
it's incredible.
Vistas in it are awesome.
The draw distance,
is
really
incredible. Also looks pretty good.
Yeah, I've been playing that on PS4.
I bought Wolfenstein very quickly, back to Wolfenstein 2 on PC. I didn't play it for about 4 or 5 days because the PC version like was shit when it came out.
That's why,
which is like sad to me because I specifically read a statement from id or from Machine Games. I was like, we're big fans of the PC. We know where Wolfenstein originated from, and so we're gonna like we're doing like PC first, and this is gonna be the great thing, and like
gonna be very well up.
Yeah, and I play the game. Literally, could not play the game in 1440p or 1080p because it would zoom in to one corner of the screen, full screen. I was like, you guys, what is like? Look at this screen. What did you guys do to this game? I can't see 75% of the screen, and like everything I did was like, I just have to wait for updates and drivers and stuff like that. It was real stupid, but Assassin's Creed runs pretty good. It is a demanding game for sure, but it looks pretty incredible. So.
It is. I've had to change a few things. I'm running it on my 1070 with 1440p. I changed a few. I think it was like shadows and nothing with textures or like draw distance or foliage or anything like that, but it was all like ambient occlusion and like all that kind of stuff. I've changed it a little bit, and I'm running it at like around 80 frames probably on average, so pretty decent, and it still looks really good. Yeah. Everything is still mostly on ultra. I moved a few things around and changed the anti-aliasing.
I saw, I don't know if it's a rumor or people actually found this, but a lot of games have like an anti-piracy thing called like de novo, which a lot of people, and I've never experienced this, say that like, oh, it hampers performance and stuff. But supposedly with this game, they have de novo and another anti-piracy thing on it that apparently increases the CPU like load by 40%, which is like an excessive amount for a game to handle. Like it's basically running on my CPU. You can see like the percentage it's running at is 100%, which isn't like great for a game because that limits like the frame rate and causes stuttering and stuff. So I was like, what is like, is there some truth to this? Because no other game I've played before has like stressed it that much. And granted, open world games have a lot of like AI
and this game is
like,
huge
systems and programs running, so that makes sense. But still, it seems excessive, which has been a little bit of an issue here and there. But for the most part, it runs pretty well and looks great.
Yeah. Dude, can we just say, last thing I'll say about this, because we don't need to pick a film. The map in there is absurdly large.
It's massive.
It's insane. I thought Witcher was big. I thought Skyrim was big. I thought Grand Theft Auto 5 was big, even though there's like the desert and all that kind of stuff. This is probably the biggest map I've seen. I remember
seeing someone
it's insane.
Show like the one area they were in. I was like, dang, that looks pretty big. And they're like, now I'm going to show the world. And they zoom out and it's like, well, here's like 15, 17, 20 areas. I was like, geez, like this game is gigantic.
I'm in Alexandria right now, and I feel like Alexandria and the neighboring area could be one main city in like Assassin's Creed 2, or even like Black Flag maybe, like because they had like Nassau and like Kingston and all that kind of stuff, and each one was like, oh, this is pretty big. Like you can see a lot of stuff, but it's like, you know, blocked off by the Animus thing.
It's pretty cool.
But then when you're playing this game, you're like, oh god damn, like I've played for like 10 hours. I feel like I've only been to 2 areas. That's insane, and they're both huge, and there's more to go.
Yeah,
it's nuts.
It's a cool game.
It's exciting. It's a fun game.
Surprised that I like it as much as I do.
I was lukewarm on it before it came out, but I am happy with it. I thought it looked dumb before it came out. Okay. We're cutting it close here. Is it your turn?
We're cutting it close. We restarted the chain, I feel like.
Yeah, I think last time I just said fuck it and grabbed it. So, Coulter now has the bag, not a hat, in his hands. And we are about to pick a wacky film. Every week, like we mentioned before, we reach into this bag, we rustle around like Coulter's doing right now. We pick out a movie written on a little piece of papes, and we will watch it and give our professional and valid critical opinion of it.
Siskel, Ebert, Potter, LaPointe, Miller.
The Big Five.
The Big Five.
If there was only some names there, I don't care.
Yeah, so... yeah, we do this every week. If you guys want to, you can legally obtain the movie in some way, or not. I'm not your dad or mom, and you can watch the movie along with us, and it'll be exciting and fun.
We only have bangers left, so
that's untrue. By all
standards. No matter what we pick, let's just put it out there right now for the listeners and for us. I think it's important to say that nothing will live up to Kalabar'S Revenge. Nothing will top that, and it'll be a tough act to follow.
All right, boys. The movie we're watching next week is What We Do in the Shadows. Let's go.
Interesting. This is interesting that this is coming so close to Thor Ragnarok.
Why is
Directed
that?
by Taika Waititi.
Same director.
Did you put this on there?
Yes.
You've seen this movie.
It's a comedy movie with some like Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords. Yeah, and it's funny they actually announced that they might do a prequel to this movie like either today or yesterday or something like that. So that's interesting. Huh. Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
That'll be fun.
That'll be
How much time do we have?
Around 5 minutes.
Yeah, we actually have probably a little more than that.
Wait, I thought it was 2:15.
It is because we start and then there's a little bit of time.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was a jam-packed episode there, but I thought we were good on time. We made it. We made it happen.
A little rushed at the end, but it's all right.
That's fine.
Plug us in and plug us out.
Yeah, so if you enjoyed this content, or if you've been following and you want to leave us some feedback, or send us some questions, death threats, hate mail, candy, chocolate, whatever it is, send it to itsnotsosubtle@gmail.com, at it's not so subtle on Twitter, it's not so subtle on Facebook. You can find us on Twitch at it's not so subtle. And then if you want to follow me personally, you can find me at Lane to Point on most social media, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and of course Pornhub. I think that's all I got. Jordan, where can people find you?
You can find me, Jordan Miller, at the Killamilla on Twitter.
How do you spell that?
I'm not gonna spell it. We don't have time for that.
That was just so like curt.
I'm not gonna spell it.
Instagram, social media websites, video game websites, Twitch. I haven't streamed something in a while. I think I streamed Rocket League a couple last week or something. Coulter and I were on a hot streak not too long ago. So tune into that.
We need to continue that soon, or else we'll derank.
Oh shit, Coulter, did you reach? You didn't reach Diamond 1, did you?
No, I'm 3. So we can do it.
We're close.
I'm on Plat 3.
I've climbed from Gold 1 to Platinum 1, and we're still climbing. So follow me on those websites at the Killamilla, and also on Tumblr at Tenzo-Taicho if you want to see anime stuff.
Let's go.
Coulter?
You can find me at Coulter Potter on Twitter and Instagram. If you feel the need to attack me based on what I enjoy for little to no reason, you can find me there.
Tell us your hate of The Walking Dead. Please.
I can do that. Coulter. I can do that right here.
And you will, because you apparently feel compelled. Yeah. And then, yeah, that's pretty much all my shite.
Cool.
Dope. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this special Halloween episode of Not So Subtle, where really the only Halloween-focused part was our review of the greatest film ever made, HALLOWEENTOWN 2: Kalabar'S Revenge.
It was a movie.
I hope that it moved everyone as much as it did us, which I find hard to believe, but you never know.
Me too.
Yeah, this was a fun one, guys. Thank you for joining me.
Cool. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for joining me on my podcast.
Okay.
Thank you for joining me. This has been Coulter Potter.
Yeah. We'll see you guys next week, talking more about what we do in the shadows. And
what we do in the shadows.
Let's go, dude. Let's fucking go, dude.
So, yeah.
Happy Halloween, guys.
Man is the real monster.